Well, hello. I'm Jamie, and this is Karen. Welcome to Sci-Fi Vision presents Fandom Access for Severance. We're going to talk about the third episode, Who is Alive? And we already have tons of questions or ideas of things to talk about from Justin in the chat, which is greatly appreciated. We'll have to go through some of them. And I'm going to get up my...
First, Justin's always here before. Sorry, I was waiting to get my...
Yeah, I think he was here before we were. But it's appreciated. If you haven't, please take a minute to like the video and subscribe to the channel. You can find all of our interviews, videos, live streams, all that on our YouTube. And also, if you haven't, make sure, I think I copied the link this time, hopefully. Nope, I got the YouTube link copied. If you haven't, take a minute to join I'm having Discord. And here, wait, I will get it. I promise. I had it up. I just lost it. To join the Discord, because we have watch parties before this live stream every week. And tomorrow we have our From watch party, which starts at 7:30, I think. I'm like thinking, what did I schedule? I can't remember. I got to think about it. But yeah, our From and then our From live stream is at 11. And also starting in 3 weeks. We're doing 2 more weeks of From for season 1. And then we're going to be moving on to Yellow Jackets. Me and Scarlett are doing a stream for Yellow Jackets. I know you haven't watched it, but I've started the rewatch.
You're going to take like a From break?
Yeah. We're going to take a From break for a while. Me and her are going to do Yellow Jackets. And we also are going to be starting watching season 2 of that on Monday in Discord. So
season 2 of what?
Of Yellow Jackets.
I thought they were on season 3.
No, they're not on season 3 till
the watch party.
Right. So we're rewatching it, but our Yellow Jackets stream will start. I think it's the 15th. Yeah, no, the 16th. It's Sunday, so the 16th. So a couple days after the first episode airs will be our live stream, just in place of our From show for a bit. All right. Well.
Holy crap. All right. I'm gonna put a few marks here on Justin has the first comments in the chat. So I'm gonna just, Jamie, we can tag them so they show up and we can come back to them later. I'm gonna star them so they come up.
Sounds like a plan.
Otherwise,
I was gonna open the picture there. There we go. And I was also gonna say this one is what the beginning of the episode is. So I actually fits good with this. Isn't the beginning? Oh, wait, I don't have my.
Get your recap up.
Yeah, I had it up. I had the window too big and I couldn't see it.
Oh my God, Justin, man, you have been seriously thinking about this.
Yes, quite a bit. The beginning, which is what I was about to say, is when Cobell wakes up and she had been sleeping in the car. And I don't know if they have the name of the town at the very beginning, but
she passes a road sign that says like Salt's Neck 10 miles or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So for those of us who Googled it, there is no town on Earth named Salt's Neck. It is a fake name, I guess, that was made up for Severance.
All right. It is kind of an odd name, though. Do you think it has any purpose, or do you think it's just they like the name Salt's Neck?
I mean, to me, Neck is so there are places on, like, isn't Great Neck like on Long Island, right? And to me, Neck, I think, I don't really know what a neck is geographically, but it makes me think of water and like a little place of water to drive through. I think maybe because of Long Island. To me, Salt's Neck, it does sound like a small rural town. To me, the name just goes with this kind of seeing of her driving in a very rural, or here she's parked, right? This is the opening shot, and she's actually
wakes up in the car,
in a very rural area. I don't know if other people I haven't tried to anagram Salt's Neck.
It might mean something. Yeah, no, I haven't either. I just asked because when we just did the Severance rewatch, I was saying at the end of the episode, which we'll get to that later, but it looks like when she pours something, or Gabi pours something onto some of the equipment, I think that what she's doing, I could be wrong, but she's using it to vibrate like she's oscillating, and it looks like salt. So it just made me wonder when I'm reading that again, salt's neck, if it had anything to do with that.
Like
Probably not.
sodium solution is reactive, right? Like those of us who've taken chemistry or physics, like
salt
water conducts electricity differently than fresh water would, right? You add a little salt, you get different conduction. Salted water, I mean, there's so many reasons to use salt in water. I mean, sometimes you add salt. We talk about oral rehydration salts, like salts that are in your electrolyte drinks. There are salts that, like, there's so many things that salt could be that, like, I mean, the second part of Justin's question, could it have any deeper connection to Lumen or her past? Didn't she have that breathing tube apparatus, the Charlotte breathing tube in the car?
Yeah, and that's in this episode. I'm not sure whether it's a breathing tube. It kind of, to me, looks like a CPAP.
Yep. Whatever it is, that made me think that Salt's neck is connected to her past.
Yeah, I would agree, probably. All righty. So let's, whoops.
I love this shot, by the way. The visuals here were amazing. I don't know who directed this, and if it's someone who's a frequent director, they do this type of shot really well on this show. And I loved how, like, I thought maybe this car was moving, and the car comes and passes her. She's actually parked. She's actually sleeping. This was just like an amazing visual, I thought.
It is. There's a lot of really great visuals in this show, and I'm looking here to see who directed the episode. Ben Stiller did, again.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't entirely sure. That's cool. Yeah, so he's been doing a really great job with it. I didn't really know a lot about Ben Stiller, but I didn't know that he...
Well, not as a director. I knew about him as an actor.
Well, yeah, but he's clearly a very prolific director and does a lot, because I've liked a lot of the shots in this season, just the whole, like, artistic aspect of it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see. We got her in her car waking up, and again, old style cars. And some of these, if I jump, it's because I don't remember exactly which scene it was in, but I was going to say when she later turns on, it might be in this scene, she turns on the music. Yeah, it is this scene. Okay, she's got a tape deck. So it makes me question again, why do they all have these old cars? It's not inside the Lumen. Like, I understand inside the Lumen building they do.
I think that's a Volkswagen Rabbit, right? It's a Volkswagen Rabbit that she's driving, which a lot of you people might be too young. You people, Jamie, and some of our listeners might be too young to be driven or ridden in a Rabbit. Could be a cabriolet. I think it looks like a Volkswagen Rabbit to me.
I don't know enough about cars. I feel like my dad might have had one though. Like, I feel like I've heard about it, but I don't know. But it's just kind of odd that it has a tape deck and it's like a lot of the tech at Lumen. But she's driving, and then we get to Mark, who comes into work. Can see again the parking lot is clearly divided, and I know you think it's just a parking lot. We had this discussion last week.
Well, we had that long discussion how you were like, how come there are people there? He comes in, there's usually not people there, but I
don't know. I'm wondering if maybe when we've seen them before with nobody in the parking lot and it said about keeping them separated, I think it was probably when I was going to say when he was coming out of work, but I guess the innie never comes out of work, so it really doesn't matter. Yeah, to me, it makes no sense, because that was something that they made a point of saying. They come into work at different times so they don't run into each other. And then now he comes in and it's a full parking lot. And I find it odd.
I just think, like, I wouldn't read too much into it. I think if I drove to my office and I got there at 7:30, there would be nobody in the parking lot. And then if I came at 8 and if I came at 8:30, it's full with the 9 o'clock. Like, if Mark is staggered, if he's the early person and he comes at 7, it's going to be empty. If he's the late person, there's 4 of them. I'm thinking if they came every 30 minutes or even every 15 minutes, your office parking lot could be empty at 7:30 and full at 8:30.
It's very possible. I kind of wonder, I guess, to me, like, why show the empty parking lot before if it meant nothing? But then again, we go so deep into things that probably do mean nothing, so it's hard to tell.
Wrong one. I wanted to put this one up. Could parking be for severed and non-severed? Yeah, right? Like, there could be a separate parking area for severed and for, because we really have no idea how many people are on the severed floor, right? Yeah. We've met only a handful. We met a whole bunch more this week.
I'm assuming there's probably more than one office we know that there's an office, we know there's a goat's room, and we know there's an empty office. I think that's all we've seen, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, we've seen we've seen like 3 offices or 4 offices. Yeah. So did Mark see Helen in the parking lot? Yes, he nearly ran her down. So they don't arrive that far apart, maybe. I really think
they don't recognize each other, so it didn't really.
I think of all the things to obsess over on the show, for me, the parking lot is not one of them.
Probably not. But even if it doesn't necessarily have meaning, I do think that they film at that angle to show that it's divided, at least to me, because that to me looks like what I would say the parking lot severed. Like I said, whether it means anything.
Like what you mean is just like there are a lot of symbols of
division. Right. I think that they shot the image at that angle in order to evoke that feeling, I guess.
Okay. I like that. I like that they're evoking the feeling, even if it doesn't really, it's not a clue. It's just
right. Yeah. That's kind of what I'm getting at, I guess. So Mark comes in and he is counting. Yes. He's starting his timer. Yeah. I read this whole theory somebody had on a watch that they had the watch at the beginning of the day and the end of the day, and it jumped forward a day, and they thought he lost a day. And I'm like, some people were saying it was probably the prop department. I think sometimes all of us go too deep, but I do it too. I find now when I'm watching anything on TV, I do that like to an extent it drives me nuts. Like I'm constantly pausing, rewinding. What did I miss? Is that important? I start obsessively watching these shows. Like I need to know what time his watch says, and it's just something. It just, I mean, I'm doing it for this, but it's just funny. So he goes into Lumen, he's checking in, he's trying to go really fast, but he's still counting. Now, I guess the point is he's counting how long it takes to get into the elevator. And there again, not meaning anything, but the symbolism we see so much in this show with reflections and with like, it is reflection. Like it's the same on both sides, not a literal reflection, but the way it's divided. Symmetry, yeah, that's a better definition. And he gets into the elevator. He's gotten that it's 1 minute and 42 seconds. And then he's into
Can you go back and I want you to go see how his face, I love how go back one more. His face just looks so different as he goes down that elevator.
It does. And he was counting right until he couldn't keep counting. And then and I love how they do that. And they have him like his eyes flutter and he kind of, and you hear that ding and you know that he's severed again or whatever you want to call it.
And then like, boom, he looks like
when I'm talking about it to myself, I tend to say he blooped. I know he didn't, but that's the way I keep saying.
Yeah. And then, and then like quickly he's like, looks like a different guy, right? He like,
yeah, he does. His face, his expression
is narrower. His
He's also, I think, losing his expression. Like he's looking a certain way, like thinking about that, and then all of a sudden it's like, boop, it's gone. So it's just kind of like a blank expression almost, I guess.
Yeah, maybe.
Kind of. So the missing posters. Now I'm guessing, I don't know if they ever actually said, but I'm guessing that Irving drew these. Because he's the artist, and he's copied them, and they are planning to give them out to people to try to find her. And let's see, Justin has something to say about the posters. That's what I was looking for. Why does Mark feel compelled to print missing posters for Miss Casey, and what does this reveal about his growing concern for the well-being of his colleagues on the severed floor? I mean, I think some of it's as simple as he's looking for her, and it shows people what she looks like. But I think that it definitely shows like concern for them in the sense that he even says later to those goat people, this isn't any problem. Like, how do we know they're not going to disappear us next? We don't. And I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting approach. Like, it's not like you're going to hang these missing posters around the office, right? They can only show them in person. I mean, it's an interesting approach.
Yeah, and I think one of them even says, I'm not sure which one, even says something like, don't leave the picture. So they're going there and showing it to him and putting it away.
Yeah. And about his growing concern for the well-being of his colleagues. That's the part where he's like, if they can do this to her, like, what can they do to us, right? I mean, it's not really... And it's not clear that they've done anything to her. She's not working.
No, she's been on the testing floor, according to Cobell.
Well, they think she's been sent to the testing floor, right?
Miss Cobell makes a comment.
Cobell said that, but not in front of like Mark and those guys, right? And it's later, so we don't really like. Yes, there's a sense of foreboding, and where she's gone is probably not good, but like we don't really know. And Mark doesn't really know. He's concerned that there's no information. I mean, obviously, if your boss says, "Oh, she got promoted, she works in a different department now," don't worry about it. But they're not getting any information at all.
Right. And if they're fired, they're essentially dead to them because they're not around anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I wanted to ask you your opinion because people are kind of having I'll just stay on that frame. Are kind of having different opinions now, I think. I definitely felt in the last episodes that it was Helena, and I think you sort of disagreed with me, maybe from what I remember.
Yeah.
A lot of people that thought it was Helena now think it's Helly. So people are quite unsure. I'm just kind of right now in the I'm not sure. Like some of what she says could be her trying to get information, but she does seem more genuine in this episode than she did to me last episode. So, I mean, how do you feel about the way she acted in this episode?
So there were a couple of moments early in the episode that I was like, oh, could she be Helena? Like, I really thought she was Helly after last week, and I was really paying attention to her behavior. And there were a couple moments where I was like, could she be Helena? But by the end of the episode, I came back, like, I definitely never was, I still think she's Helly. And there were some things that I guess we'll get into the details of her behavior. I mean, the interaction with Mrs. Cobell certainly helped to convince me that she's more Helly. That weird moment we'll get to later where they stood in the hallway together for a long time and it's like, are they going to kiss? Are they not? Like, I think that probably had a lot of people thinking, is it Helly? Is it Helena?
Yeah. I mean, I still felt before like the biggest clue to me, or thinking, I think that's what it meant, was when she was watching him on the camera. Because I still think to me, the fact that she kept rewinding it, it could be that she wants that freedom, but I felt like it reminded me of different TV shows when they are trying to copy someone. And that's why I felt like that. This episode, I feel like she seems more Helly.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of on the fence right now.
She said a couple things that I felt were very Helly-ish things to say that Helena wouldn't maybe say or know to say. You know, we'll get to this later, but hey, it's Michael. She felt like Helena when she was hesitant to crawl through the goat hole when Heliar wouldn't have thought twice about it. Yep. Yeah.
I'm not sure though everybody would be good with crawling through goat poop, but yeah, she did hesitate a little bit, but I almost feel like
I didn't know there was poop in there.
Helena, she might have refused to do it.
I mean, it's a small space.
Sorry, my nose is itchy, and all I keep thinking is I'm going to sneeze because it's itchy.
I mean, she did feel a little bit like, in that moment, she did feel a little bit less all in to help Mark, like in that moment, right? Like Helly has always been like, I don't care what I do. These people can torture me. They can put me in the break room. She's been very defiant since she was hired. And in that moment, I get what Michael means. Like in that moment where she's hesitant to like plunge ahead, did maybe feel Helena-ish and less Helly, right?
Yeah, that's fair. I was just going to say, I have here, I'm reading my recap. Where Mark said not to leave the pictures, and he said on the video, oh, I know, sorry. Helly asks if he really thinks they're going to let him roam around, and Mark says they said on the video we can go anywhere we want. Lumen's listening, remember? And he obviously means Lumen's listening to us, but that's when Dylan's like, I thought that meant he's listening, like they're, spying listening. Yeah. And then Irving says he thought there was a double meaning too. So, they want to at least be a little careful.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, and Dylan does not want to help. He is, after, I guess, finding out he might meet his family, because at this point he hasn't gone there yet. He's very hesitant to go with them to help Irving, which is kind of a little sad because I felt like he had come so far and he's sort of back to caring about the Burks.
I mean, I was disappointed in Dylan in those moments also. Like when he was like, oh, I'm going to stay here and work. I'm not going to, and he's like making some excuses. I definitely was sort of, I get it, right? Like they dangled in front of him this major carrot and it seems to have worked. Like the bribe seems to have worked. And I was I was disappointed in him, even though I guess it was so tempting that it can't like be resisted, right?
Yeah. I did want to mention one other thing about this scene, which is with Helly and Irving. some people even thought that maybe this could be a little suspicious
Ah,
because she's at you
I'm
disappeared.
playing with my light, trying to get some light in my
Because
face.
she's asking Irving, have you gone down there yet? We've got you. It's okay. And I don't know, like, is that Helly being concerned, or is that Helena trying to be concerned so they don't think anything's wrong? I don't know, because she normally doesn't necessarily. I mean, not that she's not a nice person as Helly. I don't mean that at all. But does she usually stop and ask about the other people so much? I don't know.
When she grabs his hand here, I thought that was very Helly and not Helena. Like, I
can see it both ways.
I feel like Helena last season demonstrated that she thinks of the innies as an it and not as a she or a he or a person. She said, "You are not a person." I just don't see Helena like having that human touch and expressing like sympathy and compassion for. I just don't see her.
I guess I'm saying, is it possible she's doing it because she feels Helly would do it? Is what I'm saying. Like, not that she meant it. If it's Helena, she clearly didn't mean it. But I wonder, it did seem more Helly, but I don't know. Has Helly really taken an interest in Irving? I guess if you care, she just knows he's upset. It's more about don't be
I mean,
upset.
I think she cares. She cares about these four. They're the only four people she knows in the whole world.
Yeah, they're her family.
I mean, I think for Helena to be copying Helly, we saw her watching a snippet of video. Like, do you believe that she has watched and studied the entirety of Helly's 8 hours of every day being down there to really become like? I don't think she's done that. Like, is it possible she studied the tapes? I don't know. Do you think she is so enmeshed in Helly that she can like reproduce her behavior and fool everyone? I don't know. I mean, I thought that was genuine, and I don't know.
I guess it goes back to, again, how similar are they to their innies? Like, if, how much would she have to copy?
Well, Denise has a good point, right? The thing about Helly versus Helena is that Helly now knows she's an Egan. Making her more self-conscious around their esteem. Yeah, if Helly's acting weird, it's maybe because she knows she's an Egan, and now she's just acting weird all the time, right? Because she's hiding this big thing from these guys.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry, I have such bad allergies right now. I'm like making lots of gross noises and trying not to. But yeah, I agree. It could make her act different and self-conscious. So yeah, I would agree with that.
Well, for me, this was like a check mark on the it's Helly side. For me, I can see how you could read it the opposite, which is what the point of everything on this show.
Yeah, true. All right, so they go. Okay, that's her still talking to him. So they go out into the hallway. And this is where I like this scene. And this made me think it was Helly, because I feel like that cute little flirting attraction, they act like they want to kiss each other. I don't know. That felt genuine to me, more so than the thing with Irving.
And there's like awkwardness from their previous kiss, right? Yeah. Which is like, they haven't spoken about it. They haven't done anything about it. Like, but this went on long enough that it became uncomfortable, right?
Yeah, I kind of thought that after too, because I'm like, this is really long. They're staring into each other's eyes too long. But it might have just been, that part might have been for comedic effect. I don't know. So Milchick's going down the hall and he finds the balloons. He's not happy. Mark left his balloons. He takes them with him. All right. So this is where Irving's asking Dylan to go with him. And he is saying, let's see, where'd it go? I lost it. Excuse me. He's saying I recreated the paintings, the one I told you about my Audi was working on. I'm thinking maybe the hallway's really down here, and that's what his dreams have been telling him, and he wants him to come, and he's like, nope. And he doesn't want to go with him. And he's very hesitant. And I think this is when Miss Wong comes in, I believe. Yeah. And Irving goes out and he's like, I have a hall pass, but Dylan's behaving, I guess, is the best way to describe it. But she tells him to come with her. Then we get to this scene with I was going to ask too. I wanted to ask you before we get on to this next scene, is Dylan not wanting to help do you not think it would be possible, the more I thought about it, because we're talking about Helena, I feel like they could maybe get Dylan to spy for them as well.
You
Like
mean
whether Helen is Helena is irrelevant. I'm saying, like, if they are getting Dylan to do what they want and making him listen in order there's the possibility he can see his family and it's like a new perk, I just question, could they not try to get him to give up information? I'm kind of surprised they haven't tried yet.
Well, I mean, here's the thing.
You don't know of anyway.
If you're trying to, in any situation where you're trying to recruit an asset to be a spy, you have to be, you can't push them too hard, too fast, right? So is that possible down the road? Maybe. But Dylan himself said Lumen is listening. I think that means they're listening to us. I don't really think Lumen needs a spy because I feel like the entire place is wired as a spy operation. I do not like that. We saw that they were taping everything before. Mm-hmm. And the innies didn't know it. And now just because Lumen says there is freedom doesn't mean they're not still taping everything.
That's
like
true.
They don't need a spy. They're under constant surveillance all the time, right?
Yeah. I just always think about the fact of like how they said that, there were security people there and there wasn't, that some of it, they just assume people will listen. And, it's just one of those things, like people sometimes are good because they think they're being watched. They think something bad will happen, not for the specific purpose of,
I think, Jamie, I think if they were going to co-opt Dylan, it's not because they need information. It's because there would be a reason that they wanted to co-opt, like a psychological reason or another big picture reason to co-opt Dylan, but not actually, if they ask for information, it's not because they need information. It's because they're trying to turn these people against each other or for another reason. But I don't think they need Dylan to spy.
True. But it's definitely made him act different because he's not willing to go help them so much. It
was so obvious. I can't believe that none of his colleagues were like, what the hell is up with you? Why are you acting so weird? And why don't you help us?
Yeah. Well, maybe they think he's back to the way he was. I don't know.
But he never was like that. He was always like a good, he was the highest performer.
At the beginning, but he cared more about the perks. He was
never hesitated to participate in the previous rebellious activities.
Really? I feel like he didn't so much at the beginning. I feel like him and Irving were sort of more hesitant at the beginning.
Okay. I'll give you that. Yes. I shouldn't say he never hesitated, but he has been fully in. And for him to now be acting
weird, to now go back, it feels like he went back.
To not question him, to me, seemed a little like they were not like, so there's a bunch of interesting things going on in the chat, which is, Michael thinks like maybe they want Dylan to finish Cold Harbor. Like they just want Cold Harbor finished and maybe need somebody to do it. If Mark's not going to play, that is a good idea. Denise thinks they could definitely get Dylan to spy for them in exchange for seeing his family, which was, I kind of agree. That's like imagine if you had total amnesia and you didn't know anything about yourself and they dangle this thing in front of you, right? It's kind of similar.
Yeah, it's definitely the carrot rather than the stick.
And Denise is like, not just spy, but be an agent provocateur, which is like really what it would be, right? Like they don't need his like info, but they would like make him an agent provocateur to like, provoke different actions down there to be an actor.
Yeah.
Doing things.
Yeah.
That you might not even know, right?
Yeah.
It's true that Dylan. So now the finger traps comment that Michael has made in the chat, that Dylan was related to his finger traps. Like Dylan was really into all the perks and rewards that he could get. So you're right, Jamie. I'm not remember. It did take them maybe a little while to get Dylan on board, but he's totally on board lately, right?
Yeah, and that was what I was referring to before when he was so into the perks. But it does seem like a step backwards that they would question it. Yeah, and they aren't, which I'm kind of surprised they aren't actually.
Yeah.
So this is the scene with Natalie, and Milchek comes in and she has the board for him, and he thanks the board for his recent betterment, and they want him to feel appreciated and asks if he do. These things are so strange the way they talk to the board, I think.
If you think there's really a board, right? That's an ongoing
question.
A board.
But this scene is very uncomfortable, awkward. I think there's a few things going on in this scene. And I know if you watched and I know you may not have, but the little behind the scenes thing, they talked a little bit about it too, which is she tells him that the board desires him to feel connected to Lumen's history. And they give him inclusively recanonized paintings so he can see himself in Kier. Now, I mean, I don't know whether they really have that as their agenda and they want him to feel closer to him, but this is obviously clearly racist and not cool. And he is not down with it and he can't really say anything. So it's really, really awkward to me. And he's just kind of like, what do I say? At least that's how I take it. And he just is like, wow. Or no, he doesn't say wow. He says, oh boy, I think, or something like that. I'm trying to see. I wrote down, oh my, is what he says. And she says that they have the whole Kier cycle. And instead of her saying, which I thought was even more showed that she doesn't feel comfortable with this, clearly, is she doesn't say, oh, I got this too. This is so nice. She says, the board would like me to tell you that I got this and I was, excited to get it, which is basically they told her to say that. So
I mean, I get it, but she only says what the board tells her. I think with the board on the line is not a time for her to say, oh, by the way, I got one. Like, I don't think that her saying it that way indicates that there's a level on which that she also, as a person of color, could also be highly offended, but she's almost like a robot, Natalie, to me.
Right.
And,
no, I'm not meaning that she said it for that reason. I'm saying it's almost like they had to tell her to say she liked it. Like she didn't come out and say she liked it.
They said the board desires me to tell you that I also was presented with this when I got promoted, right?
Yeah, but she says that I was, where did it say? The board wants to say that I received it and I found it extremely moving. Like they're even telling her how to say she felt, basically, is my point.
But if you believe there's a board telling her to say that, okay, if you believe there's a board, or I think it could just be Kier, it could just be Helena, who knows? It could, I don't think that, I'm not sure I believe there's a board.
That's fair.
I'm not sure I believe there's anyone, or if there is someone, it might be Helena's dad, right? We don't really know. And they speak so oddly on this show all the time that it's hard to say that this is any more odd a statement than other statements that Lumen people make.
No, definitely. I'm just getting the point that they're basically telling her how she felt, because she doesn't say, I received it and I was blessed or I felt good or whatever. She says, the board told me to tell you that I received it and I found it moving. So it's like she's making
board, you can't hear it. The board could have just said, if there's really a board, they could have been like, oh my God, tell them how you felt when you got yours.
Okay, I guess that's possible. Right? That is possible.
We don't know that they told her exactly the words to use.
You're right. I took it. They told her exactly what to say, but you're right. They could have just said, tell how you felt. You're right. Yeah. But the point is, I don't think she would feel comfortable if she was uncomfortable saying that. Yeah.
So look at Justin. Why does Milchick feel so mad when presented with a gallery of paintings depicting Kieran as black? I think maybe that is a little rhetorical, or Justin looking to. I think
he's just giving us talking points, sort of.
And what does his reaction suggest about his personal beliefs or his view of Lumen's traditions? I mean, go back to it, Jamie. And then do you have pictures of the next pictures that he looked at?
Let me see. I have to see where
I'm at. This picture it's.
I think there's one more picture of one of the paintings. There's that one. You want the other one? Okay, let me go back.
Yeah. Whoop, go back to that one. So, I mean, is that that's Milchick, or do you feel that's Kier kind of blackface?
Yeah, I don't know that they're putting Milchick in it so much as making it a black man, I would say. Hello, can you hear me? Hello. Can you not hear me? I think Karen froze again. So I'll tell her that when she comes back, she'll probably reconnect back. But I was saying, I don't know it's so much supposed to be Milchick as putting a black man in that position. And they say it's to make him feel closer to Kier. But clearly not. Okay, you came back. I was saying I don't think it's specifically supposed to be Milchek. But yeah, it kind of is like blackface. I'm sure it's really insulting. I mean, clearly, you know, I'm not a person of color, so can't really say how I would feel, but it seems very insulting to me. And I, you know, they seem affected and not necessarily in a good way. The other thing that's a little odd, and I don't know if it's because they were trying to keep part of Keir in the picture, is they gave him blue eyes, which looks really weird. Like it just looks out of place, I guess. Whoop, whoop. I can kind of hear you.
I mean, can you hear me?
Yeah,
I have a bad connection. Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways this is offensive, right? And again, I also like have not experienced this kind of thing, but like to insert you into a history that you like weren't a part of, and to like sort of be rewriting like what the hell is this? Like, we want you to feel closer to Keir, so we've recanonicalized, like that's so creepy that we're gonna rewrite the canon to include you, so that you will feel closer. First of all, this part where they rewrite, you know, we've seen in Bert's shop how they redo the paintings sometimes and change them. They're like changing their own history all the time.
Yeah.
And that they're
yeah, I'm kind of curious, does that mean like they completely do it for everybody? Like for Natalie, did they make it a woman, a Black woman? And for Cobell, did she get a woman? I mean, I don't know, because it's implying if they do it for everybody, I assume that it's not just him, or maybe they are just doing it for him because or for them because they're the darker skin, which is an even bigger problem. But I'm assuming that they do it for everybody.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, the chat is like, you know, Denise, the scene is so cringe. It really is. It's so bad.
I think that's kind of the point. You know,
major Get Out vibes.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that from some people. It kind of does. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's supposed to evoke, I mean, not for him to evoke it, but like for us watching it, like it's clearly supposed to make you feel cringe.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Denise has it nailed. To me, it feels like performative inclusiveness. It's meaningless. Absolutely, it is performative, and that does make it.
They keep saying like we have to be woke and all that, and people don't sort of understand what that means, and they try to. Yeah, it's not.
I mean, I don't know how they're like, if they're trying to be woke, they're trying to manipulate.
No, I'm saying that people now say that they're trying to do it that. I'm saying like it's sort of the same thing, like people trying to change it and make it out that, I don't know. It's just uncomfortable.
Yeah. I mean, it's more, this is an interesting point from Michael. It mirrors in real life how they made Jesus white in an attempt to make white people more likely to become Christians, and how messed up that is. I mean, they also were like, we're white, and so obviously Jesus looks like us because we're superior, right? Like, I mean, there's like, but it is really like they're trying to, this inclusiveness is not because they want to be inclusive, it's because they want to, like, I don't know, it's because they want Milchek to like
feel that they're inclusive. And that's kind of what I was getting at with the woke. I was saying, like, I feel like sometimes they do it for the sake of being like, we're better than everybody else. We are telling you that we are inclusive with you, but don't necessarily mean it. I don't know if the way I'm saying it's getting.
Well, yes, that's like, yeah, you're like kind of defining performative, but also it's insulting to Milchek because there are ways to make a person feel included in your company and a part of your, and like more engaged in their work if that's what they want, without like this kind of like ham-handed and condescending and treating him like he's stupid, right? And then he's going to be like, oh God, I can see myself in this great white man, right? Like it's so horrible.
Yeah, it's definitely
and then Natalie with her creepy ass little creepy smile. I hate Natalie, man. She is so creepy with that creepy smile and her creepy. And then, this picture is still the white man at the end, right? Like they have not overwritten.
I think he's supposed to be. It looks to me like they changed his skin. It's just not. The picture's kind of bright.
All right.
Maybe I'm wrong, but it looks like it to me.
And like, what are they going to do? Are they going to like? Did it look like a woman? We're like, we're going to make Keir a woman for Natalie's version? Like, she doesn't like. I don't even know what they would have done for Natalie's version, right?
Yeah, that's why I said like, did Cobell get the same thing with it turned into? I don't know.
turn into a blonde woman? Like, who knows? Or did she even really get one? Like, is Natalie in on it? And did Natalie not get one? Because this is like a thing that is designed for Milchick to specifically, and not for, right? Like, I don't know. Like, we don't, like, does everybody get one? Did Natalie get one? I mean, I don't know that I ever believe anything that comes out of Natalie's mouth. And later in the episode, I definitely don't believe what was coming out of Natalie's mouth.
No, I don't either. But anyway, she doesn't seem totally comfortable either. I mean, they kind of are at a place they cannot express themselves, though. That's clearly apparent. But I don't know. It's just a very uncomfortable scene. So this is where we see, I guess, I thought it was before, but where we see the sign, it says Salt Neck. And she is going down the road, and I just got the one picture there, but she changes her mind. She turns around. At least that's what it looks like. It's hard to tell because it's from the inside view of her car, but it looks like she spins around and heads back. So whatever her plan was, she changed her mind, which is, I'm assuming, why she ended up back at Lumen. So let's see.
I wanted to go back to a comment that we had up here a little earlier about Helena and Mark, where let me just find this real quick because we have so many comments. I just want to hit a few of them while we can, right? Okay.
Yeah. Let's, I was going to say, you need to like unstar something when we do it so we don't.
Yeah. This is a non-star comment, I think, that somebody made about, I thought Helly would have just grabbed Marcus and kissed him, which is what she did in the previous kiss, right? She grabbed him and kissed him.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't even thought of that.
And Michael thinks, yeah, definitely, but Helena would be nervous to make the first move with Mark. So is that scene on it's Helena side? Helly would have grabbed him and kissed him as she did before. Helena would be nervous to make the first move because she really just met him, like, Yeah. I mean,
or is it Helena just trying to do what she thinks Helly would do? Is that kind of, I mean, that's kind of.
But she doesn't do what Helly would do. If you think Helly would have
No, but I'm saying maybe she thinks that, like, because it would have to be calculated if she's Helena, and it doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't seem to be, but that is true. Helly may have just grabbed him. If it was Helly, we don't know.
She has just grabbed him in the past, so yeah.
Anyway. I mean, we really don't know one way or another, but let's see. Okay, and I think let's see. So they are. I lost where I'm at again. Sorry. This is okay. So they go down the hall and she knocks. Now I lost my picture thing. Sorry, it's hard to keep. I have so many windows open trying to do everything at once. So they go down the hall. She knocks on this door and they go in, and there is this sort of miniaturized. Oh, we lost Karen again. Well, she'll be back. We have this sort of miniaturized barn, and it looks like maybe it's a whole farm miniaturized. I'm not really sure what the significant. There you are. There we go. Welcome back. As I was saying, I'm not really sure what the significance of the miniaturized barn is. I mean, I assume it's something for the goats, but they're not quite in the goat room yet, so I'm not sure. I don't know.
Well, this is a goat room. This was the room where they saw the goats before.
Well, no, they crawl through. Oh, it was okay. Yeah, it might be the where
first
the
come into this room, and then they look all around this room, and this is where they had seen that guy like with the goat before, and then they go through from this room.
Okay, but I guess what my point is though is what do you? I don't know. The miniature barn is weird. Like, I feel like it's for something, and I just don't know what it is, and it irritates me because I don't know. I mean,
I feel like I've been to a million petting zoos that have a little bit of decor like that, and it's just
okay. That's fair.
Goats like to climb on top of shit. They like to stand on little like stuff that like. I mean, it's a thing for the like. It's just a little decor.
That's fair. So there's this little hall that's covered by plastic, and they go through it. And this is where we said before, would Helena go through without hesitation? Did she hesitate? He's like, watch out, there's poop. And they crawl through and they see this. Now, I had made a comment about this. I can't remember if it was on this show or just somebody I was talking to, but I'm kind of surprised when they see this that they aren't excited to see grass. That sounds so stupid to say that. But what I mean by that is in the other episode, when they were talking or when Mark was talking to Gwendolyn, she was saying how like they want to see the sky and they want to know what the sky looks like, what the wind feels like. They have never been outside from the Innie's point of view. and they're suddenly sort of outside with like this big hill and grass and animals. And as it is, I think it looks pretty cool. And I'm not even an idiot. I'm like kind of like, wow, that's neat. They put that in that room, but they don't even question it. I don't know. I just felt like maybe they should have said something about it.
I mean, I think they're speechless.
Yeah,
I
that's
also, like to your argument, maybe they don't know that this is not normal in an office environment since they've never. I don't know, but I took it as like more of like a speechless kind of moment. I mean, he does say like, "Oh God," and she says, "What the hell?"
Yeah,
I think he says, "Oh my God," and she says, "What the hell?"
Yeah, that's fair.
In that scene, so there is a bit of disbelief expressed there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And there are lots of baby goats, and also this guy in a goat costume who's really creepy.
That was so weird.
I thought I had a better picture of him. I didn't. That's the best picture I think I have. I don't know why he's dressed as a goat. Well, we don't really know a lot about the goats, period, but it's very strange. And there's lots of, I noticed too, they do seem to be like different ages. Like there's like baby goats and like little goats. But Lauren, I had forgotten what her name was. I looked at it on the
Can we go
Insight
to
thing.
Michael real quick? Michael says that this is an actual hill and they placed the set on top of it.
Oh, that's cool. So
I
this
had
is
assumed
grass.
I assume they put a lot of grass and sod inside a warehouse and like built a hill inside a room.
That's
Michael
what
seems to be saying that it's an actual, I guess this maybe was on the podcast, it's an actual hill and they built the set on top of it. That's pretty cool. It actually makes a lot of sense to do it that way, right?
It does make more sense. And, you know, they talk about how much money they spend on the season and things like that. I'm sure it costs a lot, but yet they don't necessarily, you don't think about it costing a lot, but probably did. So they come in and Lauren comes down and she's like, what are you doing here? That is a really good shot.
Her name is Lauren, that character?
Yeah, that's her name. See, this is, again, he does such good, like, sweeping shots in the show, which are just, it's like a lot of long angle, is that the right word? Long angle, not long angle, long distance lens. You know what I mean? Hey,
Yeah.
people, wide angle. There we go. A wide angle. It's a long angle lens. Jeez. But anyway, I'm just saying that looks really cool.
Wait. You have got to. Okay, go ahead. I mean, we have a lot of goat comments, but we're coming back to the. We're coming back to.
We're going to come back to the goats. It switches scenes. That's why sometimes it's hard with the pictures. So Irving is going down to O&D, and he looks at. Now, I took a picture of this because this is another one of the paintings that they tend to change. And you know, I found it kind of funny. I don't know if it was meant to be, or you were meant to even think it, because clearly they're not repainting them for him. But that kind of looks like it could be a young Irving because he's got a mustache like him. So I found that kind of funny. But yeah, he's looking at the paintings again because Irving likes the paintings. And he talks to Felicia, which, I guess there wasn't, I didn't have, it kind of goes back and forth, I guess. Because I'm pretty sure I have more of her later too. Let me see. Yeah. Hold on, I'm looking.
We'll come back to Felicia because we have a bunch of Felicia things to talk about also.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I have. Yeah, I do have more pictures of Felicia. Okay, I just want to make sure it's going back and forth, and that's why. All right. So now this is interesting too. Like, there's a vending machine and a desk in the middle of this hill, which is just really bizarre and cool. But they ask her they ask her if she's seen Miss Casey, and she doesn't want to help. And let's see. What do I have written here? That's too far. She stands up. I thought I took a picture of it. I'm not sure if I'm mixing up my order.
A little out of order because she rings the bell and then all the other mammalians come out, and that's when we see Goatman in his costume.
I don't think she's rang it yet. I don't think she's rang it yet at that point. Here she's sitting and talking to them, and she's like, that isn't our concern. You need to go. And that's when she rings the bell, I believe. And then we switch to Dylan. That's why I'm trying to look up, like, without standing here reading, 20,000 things that I have written here. She said that you should have left. Yeah, I think somewhere I have a picture of her ringing the bell. If I don't, we can
It's
always
all right. We all saw it. We don't need to.
I'll go back.
Yeah.
Yeah, she rang the bell. More cowbell, but more goat bell. So Dylan goes with Miss Huang into now this is the old security room. So they took out the servers and everything, assuming that this actually is that room, because he says it's a security room. So I assume so. Maybe, well, they probably don't want them to know where it is because they don't want them turning on the OTC protocol.
Well, yeah, I mean that there's theories that this is a different floor with the same footprint, and they just rearrange things on it, right?
Yeah, it could be that too. But she tells him that he has earned a visitation, and oddly, because it is kind of sticks out as being odd, he's earned an 18-minute visitation with
his Audie's wife.
With his Audie's wife, yeah. And she comes in. Now, does it? I don't know that it means anything to you, but when I seen this, it kind of made me think of like the way her hair is braided and stuff, of like Cobell when we saw her younger. Like I just kind of wondered at first if maybe she was like one of them, and who knows? Maybe it isn't really. Well, I guess we do know at this point it is really her because we see her with the other Dylan. But at this point, we don't know for sure.
I mean, there are many religions and cults and sects and different that dictate how women can style their hair.
Mm-hmm.
Like it could be, I mean, could braids be a Lumen thing? Maybe. Could it just be a coincidence that two women wore a braid in the show? Also, yes. Right?
Yes, definitely could be. It's just a little weird. So let's see. So she tells me you have 18 minutes, and I do think that's weird, but that's what she tells him. And they have this sort of awkward conversation because Dylan doesn't know how to interact with her. And she tells him that her husband didn't keep down a lot of jobs. And he's like, is he dumb? Is he a fuck up? So yeah, I like that though. This is a cute conversation. So and say Seth, and Huang's like, don't give any personal information out or anything that says
so
any privileged or sensitive information.
Yeah. So we have a couple of good comments about this. One is, since you just talked about the job, come on, whereas how does Dylan's new awareness of his Audi struggle with employment and direction in life influence his views on the severance procedure? Could this change his willingness to rebel against Lumen? I got to unpack that question. So he does seem kind of surprised to hear that Dylan has struggled. I mean, that kind of makes sense as to like why a guy would choose Severance. Like one of the big questions is like, why do people choose Severance? And we knew we've talked a lot about Mark's reasons for choosing Severance. Now Dylan, like he was struggling maybe to get a job to support his family. And so he picked this really out of, necessity.
And that until this point, Dylan really, like, I don't want to say looked up to him, but felt like, oh, his Audi must be this great guy. Like he says something like I forget what he says, a muscle something.
And Dylan is the highest performer on the team, right? Like Dylan got the waffle party. Dylan has gotten he's a really good performer. And he does seem really surprised to hear that his other self or whatever, his Audi, like struggled to, and he's like, oh, is he a loser? So I was like, no, he's not a loser. He just couldn't find himself. Oh, he's a fuck. Yeah. Dylan definitely is a little.
Yeah. He doesn't expect that. Does it change his views? I don't know that he was that affected by it, at least at this point. I mean, I don't want to say he doesn't care, but I think right now he just kind of like wants to find out information. I don't know that he's really thinking about why his Audi did it at this point.
Yeah.
He feel differently.
Could this change his willingness to rebel against Lumen? Yeah, I think that could be the goal of Lumen in letting him meet his wife and pictures of the children. Like, would he develop a sense of responsibility to his wife and children and not want to screw up, knowing that he's struggled to get a job on the outside? Does he not want to risk the job on the inside? Like, is that Lumen's point in allowing? Because to me, I can't imagine why they allow this and why the wife would go for it, unless they said, "Look, your husband can't. We're going to fire him, and he can't hold a job." So, like, why would the wife agree to this stupid meeting? It makes no sense. Why she would agree?
Well, see, I think at this point, though, some people wondered if she was even really his wife, because I did kind of wonder back then if they would hire somebody pretending to be his family.
I wonder.
I don't feel like that now. But
I wonder until later in the episode you see that she is really his wife,
yeah,
right? But at this point, also, I was like, how does he even know she's his wife? You could Photoshop these pictures. You could, right?
Yeah, and he would have no idea. But yeah, I mean, I think they want to get him connected to them at any rate and make him care about them.
Yeah.
Would it change his willingness to rebel? I don't know. I think that remains to be seen, because I think it could even make him rebel more, wanting to. I guess, though, it doesn't do him any good to want to be with them, though, because it wouldn't be him. So I guess that really doesn't. Yeah. Maybe wouldn't work that way. Yeah.
I mean, while we're on this, how does Dylan react emotionally to seeing a photo of his Audi's 3 children? And how does this moment impact his perception of his severed existence?
Yeah, and I think I have a picture of the children there.
I love the part when he goes, "Oh, and we live on a cattle ranch."
Yeah.
Like, of all the pictures you bring, it's the one where you
bring that. Yeah.
You dressed up at Disney.
Maybe it's your favorite picture, you know? I remember my family got one of those taken at Cedar Point. I remember dressing up.
My family got one at Disney World, I think, in Florida. I mean, maybe it's a great memory and she was hoping it would trigger something. I don't know, but.
Or maybe they were seeing if it would trigger something, kind of like how they put the candle in front of Mark and things like that. Maybe it's sort of a test.
Yeah. I mean, I think this was very moving for him to see the children.
Yeah.
He, he had met one when Milchick woke him up, right?
Mm-hmm.
That one time. I think it was very moving for him. How does it impact his perception of his severed existence? So this goes the other way. Like, on the one part where I just said, maybe they're using this visit with his wife to make him more committed to this job that he has to support them. But seeing the kids maybe makes him want to get out and like experience the full life that his Audi has. Like, is this for Dylan showing the part where, we've talked a lot about how the Audi reaps the benefits of the innie's labor.
Yeah. Yeah, because even if he gets out, like, it wouldn't be him. So I'm not sure that would, like, it doesn't work that way. But I know what you mean. Like, would it make him more want to be a part of that?
Like, if he knew, I don't know if he knows reintegration is a thing, but if you knew reintegration was a thing, would this make you want to reintegrate so you could experience
that? Is a good point. Yeah, but I don't think they know about that. So I'm going to say at this point no.
Yeah.
I did want to also mention, I find it's interesting, like, that they have this painting of sky and water and birds. Like, they don't have a window. They don't take a chance of them seeing anything of the outside world. I mean, I get why, but it's interesting to me that they're showing that.
Yeah.
I also wondered, sorry, I just want to mention something. I also wondered when he first came in, if maybe they were letting him meet a severed version of her, like, for a split second, because she's like, this is Gretchen G. So I thought maybe, like, she was severed too, and, like, he was going to talk to that version.
I don't know. I mean, I was in the part where they let her bring her purse full of crap down. I mean,
that's why they gave her a clear purse.
Yeah, but they don't let anybody bring anything down there, right? And they have to, like, leave their watch upstairs and put on an analog watch, and they can't bring anything down. Why can she bring things down? Why not make her leave it upstairs also? Like, what could be in there that could, like, to me, that was weird.
It is weird, but I feel like the reason they can't bring things down is they're afraid it will trigger a memory, where in this case, they're specifically letting him know these memories, I guess. Right. Like, they're letting him know about his family. So it's intentional. They're also watching them.
It seems like, look, I work at a stadium. I bring a clear bag into that stadium every week. I have to go through these metal detectors. I have a knife in it every week so I can slice lemons and limes. It's not allowed. They never check. They never see my knife that I bring in, right?
Well, right now.
No, next year you're going to be like, where's your knife, Karen?
Somebody's watching our show and they're like, Karen.
It's just a small knife so I can cut fruit for the drinks behind the bar, right? Because they never give us a knife, and it's a disaster. But what I'm saying is, like, just because your bag's clear doesn't mean you don't have contraband in there. Like, it just seems to me like a risk that Lumen is taking, and it surprised me.
But I guess my question is it something important or is it just like a little thing they didn't think of type of thing? Like, I don't know whether that has relevance or not. But again, like I said, I think maybe they could be doing it to test him too. Maybe they want to see if he gets a reaction from it. I don't know. But I assume they approved whatever she's got in there.
All right, raining trees. I think Dylan's innie and his wife will develop a romance separate from her and his outie. I mean, that's the danger. If he gets more visits, they definitely would have a connection. I mean, she definitely, she says to him, "You don't remember me at all?" And right, like she's kind of surprised. Is she going to? I mean, she doesn't say anything to him at home. At home, Dylan says, "How'd that thing go?" And she's like, "Oh, it was fine." And she doesn't say anything, right? But would she like start to want to, I don't know, rescue him from down there or whatever? Although now Denise thinks Lumen actually wants this, that they want. I mean, I could see Cobell wanting it because Cobell is really wanting, I think she wants reintegration, right? And she's trying to figure it out. I think Cobell wants it. I think RG and Raining Trees, we should talk about this again at the end of the episode about what Lumen wants, what Cobell was providing for them. And I have long...
If this is a bad idea, because I still feel like this is a bad idea on Lumen's part.
I mean, I assumed for a long time that Cobell was kind of surreptitiously promoting reintegration and trying to figure this out. But now I think maybe Lumen wants it, and Cobell was like acting, Cobell's like, Milcha can't do it. We can talk about this later, but I've started to come around maybe a little bit to RG's idea that Lumen wants. I don't know what they want, but that this could be.
I don't know. I kind of feel like, and I mean, I have no clue, but I kind of feel like it's more just the idea of controlling him and making him feel in control, and that it very much could backfire. I think that they're using it as a perk. I don't know that I feel there's more to it than that, other than they think we'll keep Dylan happy. He'll do what we want. And I definitely think there's a chance that they could fall in love. I mean, if the innie is supposed to be kind of your pure self and true self or whatever, we've gotten into those conversations before.
I don't agree with that.
Arguable. But my point is, if it might be that, or it's a version of that, if she fell in love with her husband, I mean, it would stand to reason she might fall in love with his innie. I could see it happening.
Well, look, Mark was in love with Gemma on the outside, and he was definitely drawn to Miss Casey in some kind of way.
Yeah,
right.
Was he in love with her?
Drawn to Helly, that's a little problem, but he definitely,
Well, who knows? Maybe he had an affair with Helena on the outside. We don't know.
Yeah.
All right. So we should go back to Irving here in a second, I think. Yeah. Okay. So Irving again's talking to Felicia, and he is showing her his drawings of Bert, which is so funny to me because he draws these pictures. He says, and it's sad too, though. He's like, every day I miss him, I draw a picture. But all of the pictures are like exactly the same. It's not like
they were subtly different. If you looked at him she flipped the page, it was like a flip book where he started to smile. Like as she flipped the pages, it was like a flip. I'm pointing at it, like you can see me pointing at the screen.
No, I know. I thought at first it was, but to me, when I looked at it again, it looked like they were so similar. But yeah, maybe I just didn't look close enough, I guess.
I mean, a flip book is like that. They're so similar, but very. I thought like it looked like Bert was starting to smile as it flipped.
Yeah, I'd have to go.
Anyway, okay.
But he's. Either way, they're all very similar if they are different. And then at the end, he has the picture that's like the painting that his outie made. And she sees it, and she immediately, let's see. Okay. I was going to say, I did write this down. She says that when they're laughing, she says that Bert said he doesn't care if you're Baird Egan, you don't tell me how to print a snow globe. And that in all the 6 years she worked with him, she only ever saw him scared of one thing, and that was when he spent 2 hours working on his hair when he went to visit Irving, which is sweet. But back to the idea, I just want to touch on the fact that we know they're printing things. We know they printed an axe before, and I forget what else. But she calls this the export hall.
So does she?
Been a lot of shipments there.
So when I first heard it, I heard it as experts. How do you know about the experts hall?
I heard exports.
You heard export. Justin, unless that's a typo, Justin heard export. I didn't look at it on the closed caption, but I thought she said, how do you know about the experts hall? And that we used to do a lot of deliveries there, and now they send a guy.
No, I figured deliveries, they're exporting it. That's kind of why I guess connected it with that. But
I mean, they deliver stuff all over the building, O&D. Yeah. I heard experts, and I took it to mean like there's a place where experts are doing something. I don't know. I wonder if people in the chat, anybody watched it on closed captioning.
I probably did, but like I don't remember specifically reading one way or the other. I just thought they said exports hall. But yeah.
I mean, I think it makes a kind of a really big difference in what units are being developed up there, out there in the world. Chat's kind of quiet. I don't know if anybody has an idea about it.
I don't know, but if it's exports while you're doing that, I think most people think exports just because I've heard people call it that. But again, I mean, I'm going by like a small group of people that we were all discussing it together. So that doesn't mean that everybody thought that. But if it is exports, which is kind of what I assume because she talks about them printing things, I'm kind of curious why they are printing things and sending them places, like what their purpose is. This O&D. Did they ever say what? Oh yeah, they did. Something.
I think the internet kind of agrees it's the export hall. From what I can see on my quick little Google here on my phone, everyone seems to think it's export. So okay.
So remind me what, because I'm old and I forget things. Remind me what O&D stands for. Something in development. It was observation and development or something like that. I'm sure that in the chat they'll probably tell me I'm wrong. But I'm just, I guess, curious why this department is printing things and sending them places, and why aren't they now?
Like, it's optics and design.
Optics and where did I get development from? Say I told you I'm too old. I forget these things. Optics and design. Okay. So why are they sending things to other parts of Lumen? And more than that, my question is, why are they not doing it now? Does it have to do with what happened to Irving and Bert?
I mean, they send stuff to Lumen all the time. They print all those pictures and they get sent all over the place to be the hallway artwork everywhere. So I'm not really like, the fact that they deliver stuff to me is not a revelation. The fact that there's an export hall and what they're sending to export is, and what that means. And because the way they use language, it could just be shipping. Like we saw last week, like Fetid Moppet, Spoiled Brat, like they say exports, but it could just mean shipping. And they're just shipping stuff to other Lumen offices, right?
I guess my point is not so much that they're shipping, but why did they stop them from doing it? Like, because she makes a point of saying, oh, we used to take the shipments there. Now somebody else does it. Like, I just question, is that because of what happened with Irving and Bert?
No, she said like 6 years ago we used to send, right? We don't know how often, how long ago. I don't know how long ago was it that they stopped letting them go down there.
We send a lot of shipments there. Used to go ourselves, but now they send a guy. So yeah, I guess it could have been either way.
It could have been last week. It could have been 6 years ago. We don't really know.
So I guess my biggest question is the export hall the same as the testing floor and they're just calling it that? Like they have a different name for it? Do you think it's the same thing as the testing floor? Or is it maybe that there's more than one dark hallway, black hallway, whatever?
Well, Michael says the arrow on this elevator points down, and on the elevator it points up, or does it just light up or down depending upon where you're going?
Probably because it's an elevator, but all of Irving's paintings are pointing down. So I think that he sees that as significant. I kind of, and I don't know, but I kind of wondered, like, if it is a place that they send, we don't know why they sent Miss Casey there. If, as Cobell said, they sent her to the testing floor. Is it like you go down and you don't come back up type of thing? You know, like representing it in that sense. Watering cans and machetes.
I mean, they have a lot of businesses that are not severed, right? They have a pharmaceutical company. They have a lot of stuff. So, I mean, they could be making anything and sending it anywhere. It kind of doesn't make sense, though, that, like, why wouldn't watering cans? Why do you got to be severed to make watering cans, right? And, those are things that, like, why is I mean, that kind of begs the question about, is this like for a long time we thought the work they did was not meaningful. Like why they're making watering cans and machetes or anything else they make down there is a good question, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, the point I was getting is, to me, that is implying maybe that you can't go back up. Like, that's how I see that. Because you're right. On an elevator, whichever one you're at lights up. And if the elevator goes down, it clearly goes back up.
Maybe they work on the top floor, so it always says down because you can't go up.
Too. That's true too. I don't know why. I guess because it's like dark and black. Like, I always assumed it was like a basement or something, but we don't really know that. That's just like an assumption that I, for some reason, have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But they do all have a down arrow. I know that much.
I mean, you want to get into this one? David always has a good deep theory here.
Yeah.
Optics sends image shipments or images to the experts all. This example, the mind repressing images it doesn't like, which is what embodies the shadow of the self, the outies. Okay, I get that. I understand that, right?
Literally, though, like, I'm wondering, like, does he mean literally they're not really making things, they're just sending images of it? Or is he just meaning it represents that? I'm not.
He means
optics, clearly optics, you see image, yeah.
That's like our mind records information as images, and what they're exporting down are all the negative images.
So like everything, like negative as in opposite, or negative as in they don't want them to know about those things?
Okay, so I'm not saying that this takes place inside a character's. You know how like the movie Inside Out takes place in a character's brain, right? I'm not saying that that's what's happening here. Don't jump on me, but just for like the idea that they're inside the brain and they've got all these images and they're shipping out all the negative ones, right?
Okay, like, so more of like a metaphorical. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, if this is like, a metaphor for what's happening with Severance, maybe what they're doing. This is a good idea.
Rid of all the parts they don't like.
Maybe what MDR is doing with those numbers, that the scary numbers that they're like catching and putting like in little boxes, is like getting rid of the negative images, kind of thing. I mean,
yeah, like the negative part. They're like, because I don't know. A lot of people theorize that like they're maybe programming her, controlling her, because we know that whatever it is, at least Cold Harbor has something to do with Gemma. So are they like taking the parts out they don't want or something like that maybe? And I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see. So it represents, yeah. All right. So that's I'm talking now. So back here. Did you all decide that what was that's in meaningful? Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it is. I think, Karen, you sort of felt like it wasn't. I think when we talked last.
I don't think we decided or agreed, Denise. I think Jamie does think the work is meaningful. I'm coming around a little bit to that.
I feel like some of it might be really sensitive, and it's also a point of, and this is where I know we disagreed. Like, I think maybe that some of these people, it's not just so they don't know their outside world and they can concentrate on all that, but I kind of think some of the information is sensitive and they don't want the outside world to know what they work on. So that's why I think it's in some way important. What it is, I don't know, but.
I mean, I kind of feel like the more people we meet, the less it appears to be meaningful work. Like, I don't know what's meaningful about keeping a bunch of goats indoors. I don't know what's meaningful really about what O&D does. I'm not sure that Mark's work is meaningful, but it appears like that.
It's meaningful for them that they think he needs to finish it, but we don't know why. Like he needs to finish Cold Harbor. They've said that.
But maybe it could not be meaningful for the world. It could still be part of some sort of like reintegration experiment, and they just want to get him to do this work. That's not. I mean, it makes no sense that you can look at numbers that are scary and pick them out unless what they're doing is like recoding consciousness or something like that, right?
Yeah. And I think that's kind of what some people think.
So Denise, Jamie's a little more convinced. I am less convinced that his work is meaningful.
Yeah, fair. All right. So he's asking them about Miss Casey. Have they seen her? And she starts to get upset. And she's like, what does she say? Jeez, I keep losing where I'm at. I'm sorry. It's hard to keep track of it. My writing's so tiny. The text is so tiny. She says that she sent a courier to inform Milchek of their inquiry. And Mark's like, no, you'll kill her. And she's like, I don't care. And it's not a mammalian problem, because I did skip that before because I couldn't find where I was. She says that they're mammalian. when he asks where they're at, she says that they're mammalian, and now I'm never going to find it. I will never find it.
Mammalian nurturable is what
you found it. Okay, yeah, mammalian. Now I can't say it. Mammalian nurturable. And she says it's not their problem, and he's like, it's an any problem. If they can disappear her, how do you know they're not going to disappear us? And she still kind of isn't listening, and that's when he's like, what if it was your goat? When you go look for it? And he kind of connects to her in that way, which shows these people are just way too into their goats and they're a little creepy and weird. But that gets her to listen. And she says that Miss Casey used to do sessions in their husbandry tanks, and she had a gentle way about her. And this is where this outie says that this innie says that she said his outie excels at stargazing. But she does say, as far as she knows, she's retired, like they say. They don't really know anything.
So we have
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to pause and hit a couple of these comments here. So go ahead. Why do Lauren and the other mammalians react warily when Mark and Helly enter their department? And what does the knowledge of Miss Casey's wellness sessions imply about Lumen's treatment of its employees?
Well, I am assuming that the wellness sessions are the same no matter where they're at. At least that's an assumption, because he says, she says that my outie likes stargazing, which is pretty much what she did to them.
Let's put a pin in that, because there's a comment about that also.
Okay. But I don't know. Is it just to make them kind of like to give them, maybe it's almost like the thing with Dylan. Like maybe they think if we give them a little nugget of information, it will make them calmer. I don't know, because it seems like they do it when something goes wrong or when there's like a problem, right? Or at least that's how I took it before. Like when they're yelled at or whatever.
I thought they reacted warily for the same reason like O&D reacted warily when they showed up. I think they've all been trained to fear. Remember, there was that whole thing about the rebellion and all that. And I think they've all been trained to fear other departments. And I don't know if these guys, these nurturable, the mammalians, do they have a break room situation where we saw our R&D team tortured last year, basically, in that break room where they had to recite the same sentence 1,000 times, right? So, I thought their wariness was maybe kind of normal for Lumen. Their knowledge of the wellness sessions imply about Lumen's. The wellness sessions are not. Do we think Miss Casey's wellness sessions really contribute to anybody's wellness?
I don't know. That's why I said I wonder if it was more like sort of the same thing with Dylan. Like, is it more to give them something so maybe it'll keep them happy for a while? I don't know. I'm not really sure what the reason for them were. Like I'm not sure what they were trying to accomplish.
The goat, this guy we're calling the goat, and can we just mention that his beard is red, because we're going to talk about red hair later in this discussion also, right? But because there's a comment about the number of redheads in this show. The goat guy said Miss Casey told him his outie excelled in stargazing, and that meant a great deal to him, is the complete sentence. Astronomy is the highest level of knowledge you can gain to understand ancient wisdom encoded. There was a comment. So when David made this comment, someone followed up and said, that's right, they talked about it on the podcast. And I'm not sure if they talked about stargazing on the podcast.
Yeah. I don't know, but I guess that's what I'm saying. Like maybe them giving them little pieces of information about their outie's life is supposed to make them calmer, make them better, because I think they did it after the innies were punished, didn't they? Usually. So I think it was kind of like a maybe.
No, Mark went to a wellness session. Was it after the break room you get sent to the wellness? I can't remember.
That's what I thought, but I think Miss Cobell might have also sent him there more, but she probably had an agenda in doing that, so I don't necessarily go by that. But I thought it was after the break room. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think these wellness sessions really contribute to anybody's wellness. And I think giving people these little bits of info is a little bit torturous and like making you know a couple little things about your outie. Does it just make you want to know more? Does it just make you more curious? Is it part of Mrs. Cobella, whoever's behind like studying reintegration? And is it really designed to see if it triggers anything in you to tell you anything about your outie? Or is it just a lie? And they're like, who knows if this outie is really like, right? Like they could tell you anything and you might believe it. The part where it meant a great deal to him is, I don't know. This is a really interesting.
But we know before, at least, that some of the stuff that they told was true. Because sort of. I don't want to say was true, is a version of true. Because I remember when she told Irving that his outie liked radar, and it meant his dog Radar.
Oh, yeah.
So there's like some kernel of truth in him, I would say, probably.
And David has a deeper point here about astronomy and like it's linked to understanding ancient wisdom. David's really good about delving into different kinds of mythology and mysticism and science and wisdom and bring it all together, right? On a higher level. So, I mean, I totally believe that like this statement has a meaning on that level as well. Stargazing brought in for multiple reasons into this.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We have another goat question here. Go ahead. Is there more to this goat scene, or are you getting ready to move on?
I was getting ready to go towards the end of the scene. What did I do? Oh, I closed it. Crap. Sorry about that. Let me open it again while you're doing that. I did not mean to do that.
What is the true purpose of the mammalians' nurturable department? Why are they raising goats in such a secretive manner, and indoors no less? And how does their role tie into the broader operations of Lumen? I want to link that to a related comment later on that didn't, on the podcast, they said the mammalians live there.
Maybe that's why they all look
Ben Stiller said in an interview that the mammalians live there.
That's interesting. So is this one of those places where they don't get to be outies? Or is it just that their innies think that they're having a life there?
I don't know.
We need to start listening to this podcast.
But like, what is their like? I don't know why they're raising goats, and it speaks to the idea of meaningless work. Like I don't think it's a really great environment for goats to not be out in the sunshine.
That's true.
And to be raised that way, and it's not adequate space. And I mean, there's so many questions about raising goats that we don't even need to get into. What is their true purpose? Because the true purpose cannot be to raise goats that Lumen needs, right? There's a deeper purpose here.
You know, somebody said, and I'm sorry, I don't remember who said this, but somebody at one point said something like, is it possible that it's also a metaphor, like could by kid they mean like, or by goats, like kid, like a kid.
Oh, baby goat is a kid, yeah.
Be like representing like human kids, maybe.
Yeah.
You think of the whole babies in the opening of the show. But I don't know. It's weird. We don't really know much about the goats, but them living there kind of makes sense because these people all look very rough. I'm not sure a better way to put it. Like they don't look like shit. Yeah, they look dirty. They're broke out. They look like they're not living real great, or like at least they're trying to imply that. I think somebody said they homeless. They kind of look like maybe they brought homeless people there. I don't know.
No, homeless. They live there, according to Ben Stiller.
Yeah, but they do look like they pull people off the street, kind of like they're trying to. And I don't mean that. I don't want to be insensitive, but I mean that's what it kind of makes it look like. Like they look, like I said, they're living very rough. But maybe it's because they're living in the grass like that and living with these goats.
Well, and maybe if you work in taking care of goats for 8 hours, you might get a little dirty. Like, I mean, do we think that mammalians nurturable really is just Lumen speak for animal husbandry? And it's the animal husbandry department. And for some reason has a weird name.
Well, she said that they have husbandry tanks. So,
yeah,
I mean, that could be the case.
And why do they have tanks? What's a husbandry tank? I don't really know what that means.
I don't know. That's where they had their wellness sessions. That doesn't
right. So that doesn't make sense. And if they live there, like, are they severed? As you said, are they severed? Do they only live a severed existence? Do they not? Are there people who live there and are severed 100% of the time? Do they unsever and go upstairs to like a dorm and go to sleep and come back down? Like, I don't, right? I have no idea. I didn't listen to the podcast. I'm going to start listening to this podcast.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm thinking too.
So, you know what, Justin? I have no idea what the true purpose is. I have no idea.
Yeah, we don't have an answer to that. Okay, let's see. Whoa, I just scanned right across it. So, at any rate, after he says all that to her, she says that as far as she knows, they're retired, but that she won't do anything if they keep looking. She won't try to stop them. And then before they leave, they want to see their bellies because they think they have pouches. And I think this goes back to the same thing. The O&D. I can't remember exactly what it was. The O&D thought about them, but I don't know if it was the same thing or not. But
I thought when they said, "Let's see your bellies," I knew they were looking for a belly button, and I thought, are there? Number one, could they be robots? Are there robots around and they want the belly button to see if you're human? Alternatively, I thought, could there be humans that are grown in a way that doesn't involve an umbilicus? And so, right, if there's no umbilical cord, like I was like, what? Like what the what, right?
Yeah, but she says he was looking for pouches.
Yeah,
and she think he's nuts too. I get the opinion she's like, really? You were to ask him that? Okay. Like she didn't seem to be like really think what he said had merit, I don't think.
Could they, if they're 100% severed, could they have been taught that like most people are marsupials and that you don't have one and there's something like, I don't like what? Like why would they think that people should have if they meant a marsupial pouch, or I don't know.
I assume that's kind of what they meant, but I don't know.
Why do you think Gwendolyn, and you mean Gwendolyn Christie, why do you think Lauren says, "Are you here to kill me?" That's the first thing she says when they come in is, "Are you here to kill me?" Right? Yeah. That, I guess, speaks to why they acted warily when Helly and Mark come in, because they have they've been taught maybe that other departments might come.
Yeah, I think they might just be scared of them, like the other one, like O&D was scared of them at first. I think they thought they were there for
the rebellion and to kill them.
Yeah.
This is a good question. I mean, Helly had that high-waisted pencil skirt on, and they didn't show her. They show Mark's belly button. They don't show Helly's belly button. You think it's a red herring for cloning, but maybe they're growing people. A red herring for cloning, like it's not.
Yeah, I think they just didn't show her belly button because, like that, yeah, because of her clothes or whatever. And I don't know that there was really anything to it, really. But I don't know.
And because in the end, they weren't looking for belly buttons; they were looking for pouches.
Yeah, but he's not the only one to say that. So I didn't personally even notice that you couldn't see her belly button, but I know that you couldn't because I know just me earlier said that. So yeah, I don't know. I didn't look that close. So then back to this. Dylan says that he's going to make her proud of him, and she says she's always proud of him. And then she hugs him and she says she loves him, and she's like, "Oops, sorry." So very, very awkward. This whole conversation was very awkward. Now, I have a picture of this for a reason. Now, I have this written in my phone. I didn't get a chance to put it in there yet, but apparently this is from the cartoon. Somebody had researched it. It shows like a monkey and a dog. It's from the cartoon Danger Mouse, where Danger Mouse shrinks to go into the character. And I didn't get a picture of all the different screens, but I took a picture of this one because that to me, like, clearly represents the severance chip inside their brain, you know? I mean, pretty overtly. I mean, the cartoon I know has nothing to do with that, but I mean, that is showing something inside inside a dog or whatever that is, his brain.
Yeah. Danger Mouse was like very early 1980s, right? Like 1981-ish, I think. Danger Mouse was on TV.
I'm not sure. But I think I got another picture. Yeah. And then they show there's like this little spaceship thingy, I guess, in its brain. Kind of looks like a little robot thing. So yeah, it's very interesting. But I guess it's that he shrunk down to go through the whatever it was, to go through the character, because they do show in the next scene, and I tried to get a screen capture of it, but either I forgot or I couldn't get it because it was jumping past it. But it shows it like going through what I assume were supposed to be intestines or something. There's like a little rocket going through them. And it kind of reminded me of like Mark running through all the hallways. So I don't know. I don't think that these have any meaning. I think they're just, like I said, with the parking lot. I think it's just kind of representative of the show, and it's like a little Easter egg, I guess, is what I'm thinking it as.
I mean, to me, what stood out about it was that this is a 1981 cartoon the kid is watching.
Again, it's like the old tech thing. It's like, why are they watching?
Well, I mean, like, is it set in the 80s? Or, I mean, the kid could be watching a rerun also of an old cartoon, or does this speak to when this time period might be? Like, does the old technology really have the time, and it's the smartphones that are the anachronistic, futuristic kind of thing? Like, I don't really know, but I was like, this is an old cartoon. He's not watching South Park. He's not watching like a modern cartoon, right?
Yeah, and it's more odd for a kid to watch something like old like that. You know what I mean? Like, to enjoy something super old, more so than it would be like for an adult. You know what I mean? Like an adult maybe watches like a movie from the 80s, where a kid
wouldn't
be interested in that.
My nephew, for 1 year, all he wanted to watch was unboxing videos on YouTube. Like, you cannot say what a child that age would get upset.
That's a good point. That's a good
point. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, I wouldn't say that a little kid wouldn't watch an old cartoon. Necessarily, I don't have kids, but kids get like weirdly, and look, kids will just, if you don't let them watch it, they'll watch whatever's on. Also, if you don't let them change a channel.
That's true. For all we know, maybe they videotaped cartoons that are appropriate and that are old.
Who knows, right? To me, the age of this cartoon is what stood out to me more than the content. Yeah. But I didn't notice it. Thank you for like pointing out what the content is of that cartoon and what it.
Yeah. No, I didn't come up with that though. Somebody had researched that. I saw that on somebody was talking about it, and I saw it. I think it was on Reddit. I can't remember. But the other thing is about this scene is that like she's asking him, did you make the cookies and all this? And I think it kind of shows that this Dylan seems to be lazy and not doing what he said he would. And I think it's kind of the point to that. And she's a security guard.
Yeah, I was interested that she's a security guard working the night shift.
Does she work at Lumen is the other question. Like I forget where I saw it. Like somebody questioned, does she work as a security guard at Lumen? Because that would be interesting. I don't know that it matters, but it's kind of interesting.
It was my understanding that Severance actually pays very well. And I was surprised that she has a job or that she has to work the night. I mean, she's working the night shift, I guess, because she's home with the kids during the day and he's home with the kids at night. I don't really know. I was a little bit like
about that because, you think about it and you think of like Mark's house and it's like more. Well, I mean, he is a bachelor. I guess he would maybe have a better looking house and not looking house, but how do I say this the way I want me to say it? Like his house looks kind of like more like maybe it costs more money. Like he's got more money in the interior of a house. It's like more like the decorating is more modern.
His house has zero decoration. He's right. He's
profoundly depressed and he has no newer, I guess to me it looked like a newer apartment, I guess, or a newer house where they have a family. So I said it's kind of hard to tell because they're a whole family, but yeah. But it kind of makes me wonder, like,
and we only see this
one. That's the point I'm getting to is that they say that Mark is important, or they may be paying him a lot more money than they pay Dylan, or is it just that because Dylan has a whole family to provide for? I guess is what I'm getting at.
I can't imagine why would anyone agree to be severed if it didn't pay well? Like, why would you have somebody fuck with your brain and literally insert a thing into your brain if it didn't? I'm sorry I said that word, people. That if it didn't pay well. I just thought that it paid well. I could be wrong, but I was a little surprised that she's working the night shift as a security guard. Yeah. Not that that's not totally honest and great work, but I just thought he'd be making enough that his wife might not even work at all, or that she might have a more 9 to 5-ish. I guess she's got to be home with these kids.
Maybe it's also because. Sorry, my eyes bother me. Maybe it's also because of the fact that he can't hold down jobs. Maybe she's afraid it won't last, so she can't give up her job.
Yeah, fair. That's totally fair.
Yeah. But anyway, he didn't do the cookies. He didn't do what she asked, and he said something about eardrops or something. But he asked how it goes, I think, at this point, and she said weird, good, but good.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. So this is from Ricken's book, and I did, for people who don't know, Apple released a short version. I'm assuming it's a short version because it's supposed to be a real book, but the first few chapters of Ricken's book is a tie-in. I did not get to finish reading it. I started reading it. We can talk a little bit about it later, but this is where he's talking to Natalie, and Natalie is like, she's being very like appreciative of the book. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be like she's sort of flirting with him to get what she wants, or if she's just complimenting him because he's like got a big ego. I don't know. How do you kind of take this scene? Because it's a little odd.
I mean, so refresh me. I just watched this at 10 o'clock this morning, but we see them having this conversation even before Devin enters the room, right?
Yes. Now, the gist of it is Natalie basically wants him to write an any version of his book, The UUR, which we know there was a version of that written in the newspaper that Milchick had. Like, he already wrote a second book, which was probably a lie. But is that why they actually intended to make it? I don't know. But that's what she wants, is for him to change the book into an any version.
So to me, I mean, I don't believe it at all. That book caused trouble. That book ultimately led to the MDR team like activating their that whole thing that they've just done. This rebellious behavior like started with that book, right?
Yeah. Which makes me kind of wonder, now that you said that. Okay, she makes this point of saying that there are verbiage that innies respond to more favorably. I kind of wonder if, because they all became obsessed with that book and thinking this was also great, that they feel like if he writes a version that they want, that they feel like the innies will respond to it and listen to it. So they're going to like kind of fill it with information they want of how they want the innies to behave. Does that make sense? I don't know.
I think everything she says to Devin is a total lie. I don't believe like anything that Natalie says while Devin's in the room cannot be trusted at all. And when she says to, like, Devin's like, what's wrong with it? Why do you have to rewrite it? And Natalie says, oh, well, there's a certain verbiage that innies respond to better. Like, I just feel like this is some bullshit that she's feeding to Devin to like shut her up because Devin's I do not believe that they want this book down there. I don't know why they're like what that. I just, the book has caused trouble. I just don't believe it.
I guess that's what I'm saying. Maybe they want their version of the book, and they feel like there's such a big fan of Ricken at this point that they'll, because it doesn't have to really be the book. Although why they wouldn't say
any version of any book down there. It's work. It's not a reading room. It's not a library. It's work. You're supposed to go to work. I don't read books while I'm at work during the day, right? I mean, actually, my boss made us have a book club and read a book about management. But
what would be the point to this then? I have to question.
Well, that's a good question. What is the point?
You just there to spy and find out about Mark.
I think yes. I do think that this undermines the theory that Ricken is a secret Egan. If Regan was a secret Egan, like there was a part of me that was like, was she there for another purpose? Like because this conversation is ongoing before Devin enters the room, like it's a real conversation between right? I don't know what it's about. I do not believe that they want that book or any copy of any book at all hanging around on the severed floor.
I guess my point is, where I'm going with it is that they know that the innies think it's great what he said. So I kind of look at it as, could they give a book, although they wouldn't actually need him, they could just say he wrote it, but like have a book that is stuff they want, that's like brainwashing what they want the innies to read, and they think that they'll respond to it because they think he wrote it.
Well, only
That
4
makes sense.
people.
I don't know that there's a point to that. I'm just telling you that's kind of what I thought maybe.
Okay, only a couple people read. Mark read it. I don't know if they know that Milchick was reading it. Mark read it, and he showed it to. I don't think all 4 of them read that whole book. Like Mark read the whole book. Dylan was like, "That book's got to get out of here. We're not allowed to have books." He might have looked at it a little bit. Like it is not like the 4 of them read it and were like, and I think it's. If you want a book, why did you go to Rickon and get him to write it? Right? It's for severed people. Write a fake book, put Rickon's name on it. Like it's so much easier to make a fake book and put it down on the severance floor if that's what you want to do. I just feel like this is about Rickon, and I don't know why. I don't think he's a secret Egan, but I just don't see why you get him to rewrite his book when you could just put anything that if you have certain messages you're trying to send, aren't there easier ways to do that?
You would think.
Because it's really not about like letting all the severed people read a version of the book. It's something about Mark and it's something about Rickon.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. Well, something about Rickon. Yeah, I would say, but I don't know. My only other thought is maybe because they know he's kind of a little dumb, or at least he seems to be. I don't know.
He seems pretty dumb to me.
He seems pretty dumb that they could not get Devin or Mark to tell them what happened. Maybe they think that Rickon will tell them what happened.
Yeah.
If she flirts with him enough and gets him happy enough and feeling all, having his ego trip and everything, that maybe he'll reveal what happened. That's the only other thing I can think of.
I think that's a really good theory, Jamie, that she was there to try to like stroke his ego, engage him. Maybe she gets like him on this book project and she gets to spend hours with him working on this. And eventually he spills more about what happened at that event. That is a really good explanation of this. It makes more sense to me than that they actually want this book. I do kind of like the symmetry of they're asking Rickon to write a different version of the book. It's similar to like the way a severed person is a different version of themselves, right? And now they're going to have like a severed
version of the book, kind of, right?
Yeah, I like that symbolism, but I just don't really buy that any of that. I just couldn't understand what Natalie was really there for, and you have given me a really good explanation of what Natalie.
Yeah, it makes sense. I didn't think about it till now when we were talking. That's why I like when we talk. I think of things, but yeah, it's possible. Why?
I didn't mean to do that.
Oh, okay.
I didn't mean to. I mean, I have saved that comment for us to discuss. Dylan did read it. Dylan was staying late to read it. So he has definitely read it. I'm not in. I know there's a big camp that Rickon is a secret Egan. I'm not there yet. I'm not saying it's not possible. For me, I'm not at that point yet. But I do agree that Rickon is someone more important than we think he is. The idea that he's been severed and reset somehow and doesn't remember being severed is very interesting.
Yeah, because how would they know if they had been severed and reset or whatever? Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe manufacture consent with the Innies using Rickon.
Yeah. That's what that goes back to, and I don't know what the book and movie is, but it does go back to maybe the idea of not, giving them the illusion of control, giving them the illusion of being happy and getting what they want, and that it is what they like, make them think it's what they want. Yeah, I don't know. So that's when Devin comes in and she's like kind of weirded out a little bit, and Natalie with her fake smile. Okay, so back to this. You find out after that they're actually gluing that light for the whatever you want to call it, the after image. I don't know if she's cutting it out of material or something. I'm not entirely sure.
It just looked like a little
something. And that's where Mark asked, was Natalie at? Because she says Natalie was there. And he's like, is she asking about me? And he said, no, that it's about, it's about Rickon. But I guess your friends are so inspired by it, they want to do any specific cut. And Mark doesn't like the book. We know that. But
he's never read it. He doesn't like Rickon.
That's true. I forgot. Yeah, I was thinking he didn't. He didn't. But she says something, I don't know where it's at, but he asks if she told Rickon what they're doing, and she says no, of course not. So I have to ask with this though, does she not trust him? Does she think that he'll blab, even maybe accidentally? Does she think he won't understand? Like, what is the point of leaving her husband out? Because clearly Mark thinks she should too. And I don't know. I tended to think maybe it's just she thinks that he'll tell what happened what they're doing, that he'll let it slip, I guess.
I agree. I think Rickon runs his mouth talking nonsense constantly, and he has no filter or no sense. And I think the worry is that he'll blab it to whoever is around.
Yeah, that's fair. So they're putting on this light, who is alive. And I guess the idea is that he's going to stare at this light, and then that was what he was timing. And he's going to go into the elevator, and he thinks that this after image is going to be left on his retina, or however you said. It's kind of like when you look at a picture, and then if you look at a white piece of paper, you can see like the imprint or whatever of it.
Yeah.
People have probably done that when they're kids, or like when you look at one of those paintings that like it makes it pop out after you stare.
When you look at a bright light bulb and then you close your eyes and you have that white dot still in your eye.
Yeah, you have like the imprint of it. Yeah. After I said that, I was trying to think, can I connect that with something? But I don't know. I have to wonder though, when he goes to like a barn, and this is a little bit later, but when he goes to test it, he's like closing his eyes. He can't walk into Lumen with his eyes closed. So I'm not sure how that would even work, but
I think he was testing how long it would last.
Yeah, but you're right. It lasts because you see black when you close your eyes. I don't know if it lasts the same when you open them, does it?
I mean,
maybe I guess we're going to close them first, maybe.
Yeah,
and then
I'm looking at this little, I have a pretty bright light ahead of me. And if I look away, like I still see this kind of like white dot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so this was really interesting. Like, and the comment from Justin is, what does Mark hope to achieve by using this light to burn the image onto his retina? And why is he saying who is alive with a question mark? Why would it not say Gemma is alive? Or is Gemma
alive? They want to know who he's talking about for sure. But yeah, it makes kind of more sense to be, is Gemma alive, maybe? Who is alive? What were you talking about?
Find Gemma, or like who was alive, because he screamed. The last thing he said is she's alive. He screamed she's alive. And so who is alive? They want to follow up on that, I guess. So what he hopes to achieve is for any Mark to
see that message. But and I was trying to find it here. She said it won't work. Well, first of all, because like she said, which is the most important part of it, I think, what good does it do? We can't send a message back. And I don't know that he would even understand how it works, because we've talked about this before. What kind of common knowledge do they have? If it's not related to memory, do they know things? It's not like it says, did you get this on the computer? It's not like he can go on the internet and look up how to burn an image into his retina. So we really couldn't send him a message back. So in that sense, I'm not sure what the point of it is. The other thing is, it's asking about the pupil dilation. What she says is, now I lost it. I had it. The switch briefly dilates your pupils. So like basically I assume it means they've accounted for that, is why, probably.
Well, when
it dilates your pupils, it would like erase the image, basically.
When your pupils dilate, they let a lot of light in, and I guess it would erase the image
of what you were looking at.
Of what you're looking at, right? Of that was on your retina. So, I mean, that's a good point, Jamie. It hadn't occurred to me that they have already planned for something like this happening. Like I thought, the pupil dilation maybe is just a thing that happens for some reason. I never considered that they do it on purpose to prevent you from retaining any visual images from before you entered that elevator.
Yeah, that was what I got after.
A visual image is a visual, and an image are like the same thing. But
I know what you mean. But yeah, that's how I took it. I mean, was that why they did it? I don't know, but that was how I took it. But anyway, no, we're not quite to that yet. Right now, he's just trying to do it. And okay, I took a picture of this because this is.
I gotta make this
computer. It's the management control panel. and something he's unlocking. I don't know exactly if it's a log he's unlocking, like what exactly that's about. The next screen, it shows control panel listing user execute drawer system active surveillance source. I kind of wondered if it was like sort of the thing when they were going through the different people before. Like, I think it's probably related to the severed employees, maybe, or at least that's my guess. We don't know that, but he's doing something. And then he looks again at the pictures of
Right, now we're back at, now we've left that scene. Oh no, now we've left his computer and he's looking at the pictures again. Yeah.
And he puts them up on the shelf so he don't have to look at them. It's how I took it. Like, he's like, no, it's going up there. Was that really why? I don't know, but that was why I took it. Like, he just is like, let's get rid of it and push it out of the way.
Let's get rid of this this really offensive thing that they just gave you.
Yeah, like out of sight, out of mind. And that's why he put it up on the high shelf in his storage. All right, so this is where Mark is testing the image and trying to see how it works. And it's got a UV filter, and it's on my cell phone. It's not on here. I had taken a picture to read it because I wanted to know what it says. And it basically says, like, don't look at this for long periods of time because it's UV in it. It'll hurt your eyes. And like, he's staring at it, or at least that was kind of the gist of it I got. It's like a caution thing, a warning. So yeah, not a good thing to stare at for that long, Mark. Then let's see. Okay, while he is doing this is where Helena comes out from work and she sees Cobell, and Cobell's waiting for her. And I guess the point is that Cobell came back from wherever she was headed and decided that she wanted her job back. So she tells her that she'll come back, but she's like, bargaining again for what she wants. She'll say, you must accommodate my needs, that working and as the floor manager is non-negotiable. That she says, he's so close to completing Cold Harbor, and that she wants to finish the work she started. And that's why Milchick has to go. He's not equipped for it. And Helena's like, this is ego, hubris, arrogance. Kier teaches us they only cause pain. And she says everything she accomplished, she earned through dedication and industry, not because she was born into it. So not only does she say, I deserve it, she insults her. Because, Helena was born into it. That's clearly what.
Well, and she's like, it's not hubris. It's, I earned it. I demonstrated that right? Like, it's not ego to know that you're good at your job, to know that you're good and recognize your own success is not ego. It's kind of a fact, right?
Right. But she doesn't want to hear that. And she says that she's overestimated her contributions and underestimated her blessings, and that they didn't have to ask her back, but she thinks they didn't have a choice. And she's like, are you sure? And she says, wait, we'll get to that in a second. I just want to say, she does say, Helena says, why don't we reset? It doesn't have to be this way. Now, okay, well, let's go to his thing, then I'll go back to that because that's got a lot of discussion in it, what I was going to say. Okay, why is Cobell so determined to rejoin Lumen as a severed floor manager? What is her true motive for ensuring Mark finishes Cold Harbor file? And why does Helena reject her demand for reinstatement? There's a lot in there to unpack. Why is she determined to rejoin Lumen? I think it's a couple reasons. Personally, I think she wants it back because she feels she deserves it because she stayed true to him. And I also think she probably has an ulterior motive, which we talked about before. Is she trying to find out if reintegration is possible? Is she, because she seems to maybe be testing Mark at times? Is it maybe still that she has an unhealthy obsession with Mark? We talked about that before. What is her true motive for him finishing the Cold Harbor file? I don't know, but I don't know. I think that it's layered why she wants back. What do you think?
I like your first two, that she just deserves it. She earned it. She deserves it. She's good at it. I do also agree that she has an ulterior motive. She has an interest in a personal interest in reintegration that we don't know what it is yet, right? But she's personally invested in making integration work or figuring out how it works so that she can,
be trying to stop it. We don't know, but it seems like
but in order to stop it, you have to understand it. Like, I think she has a real interest in reintegrating the severed mind and how that works. Why, we don't know, but I think her ulterior motive is related to that. And it's not so ulterior. It does seem like maybe the people around her, she has not been very transparent. The people around her seem aware of her interest, right?
Yeah.
And is it a personal interest or was she told? Like, we don't know. Like, she could have been told by the Egans to
She's been told by Helena's father, and she doesn't even know it.
To investigate reintegration, and she's very invested in it. But like, we don't know that it's a secret. I don't know that I feel like anymore that it's a secret. I used to think it was a secret. I don't know her true motive for ensuring Cold Harbor because I just don't know we don't know what Cold Harbor is yet, right?
No.
Why does Helena reject her demand for a statement? I think it's a negotiating technique. I think that they want Mrs. Cobell. Remember, they offered her another job last week. They want her in the company. They want her in that job. But
do you think they really want her, or they want her there so they can watch her and make sure she doesn't do something they don't want?
I think they want her at Lumen, and I think when she rejects, when she's like, "Okay, forget it," turns around and walks away, and you see the look on Helena's face. I think she's like, "Oh shit!" I pushed her too hard.
See, I kind of disagree. I think that they don't want her to be a problem. I think that's why they're like, we'll make you the boss of him or whatever. We'll give you a new job that's even better. Like, I think they want her where they can stop her from causing trouble in a way. And it's kind of like the enemy, my enemy type thing. Like, we'll keep you close. Or I said the wrong enemy thing. Keep your enemies closer. That's what I meant to say. And it's kind of like, we'll watch you and we know what you're up to. I think that what she did went too far. I think that they don't like that she didn't follow their rules. So I don't know that they necessarily want her working there because they want her working there. I think they just don't want her going off. Like I said before, I think like their work is like something they don't want people to know. Maybe I think that they're afraid if she goes off, she may cause a problem if they don't rehire her. Because she says you had to rehire me. I think that what she says could be true. Like, really, they felt like they needed to, not just that they wanted her there, but they're afraid of her. I don't know.
I mean, you had to. I thought when she said you had to, she was implying that the father had told Helena to rehire her, and that Helena is not making. That's what I thought she meant when she said you had to. But it could also be read that you had to because you have to keep an eye on me. Like, I know that you are not willing to let me be out in the wild.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. And this goes back to what I wanted to comment on, that there's a lot with this that I wanted to talk about, is we talk about Irving said earlier in the episode. When Dylan said about when they say Lumen is listening, he said something like that he thought they were both right, that it's got double meaning. It seems to have double meaning. Okay. Helena says right here, why don't we reset? It doesn't have to be that way. Now again, this is just me spitballing random things. I have no clue. But to me, and they talk so weird sometimes, it's hard to tell what's important. But to me, the word reset seems really important. And it makes me wonder if she has a double meaning, and if maybe like she meant they were going to sever her or something, like reset her. They were going to wipe her, do something to her. And she really didn't mean, let's just have another chance. We can fix it. Because the reason why I say that is whenever she says that, she's like, she calls the board, and she supposedly calls Natalie and asks to talk to the board, says, let's go talk to the board together. We'll get this taken care of. And Cobell's kind of hesitant, but she's like, okay. And she goes with her. And then as soon as she sees this guy there, she's like, nope. Like, it's you can just see her visceral reaction to this guy. She sees him. She's like, nope, leaving. And she turns around and goes back. So whoever he is, whatever his job is, I feel like she knew at that point something was wrong and they were tricking her. And that's why she left. How do you feel about the scene? And that's why I say, and I don't know that reset means anything, but it makes me think back to that computer, how there was, I told you before, I need to look up for a picture of that. I still don't remember what the other names of the protocols were, but one of them was something like clean slate or something like that. Because I told you before, I thought maybe that they would like reset the severed people, maybe erase all their memories or something. So anyway, that was kind of how I took that.
Okay.
I mean,
to be fair, people say all the time, we need to reset our relationship.
Yeah, they do.
It is very common. So it could just mean like, let's start over. It doesn't have to be the same way, right? I think we all thought that the word reset, what could that mean? And like if Miss Casey was sent to the testing floor, like we have speculated that was like a mind wipe or a resever or right, like
Something.
so you know, it could be that's what it means. If that's the threat, maybe I'm surprised that she would say it to Mrs. Cobell and say, let's reset. It doesn't have to be this way. Is she really saying like, let's reset your brain? Let's send you the testing. Let's right.
Yeah, like, that's kind of my point. Like, I think she was saying it like she was saying it the way you're saying. Let's try again. Let's get along. Yeah. But she really meant it the other way. Like, I think it's like a double.
Mrs. Cobell would know that. Like, that would be an open threat. Why would she ever go in? Like, Mrs. Cobell is in a position to know what that means.
I guess it could.
And so why the open threat? Now, I do agree that guy was kind of threatening, and he does take a step forward behind. Like, he's standing behind Helly, and he inches forward a little bit, and Helly kind of stops him a little, right? Like, she gives a subtle expression, and he doesn't move anymore. And then Mrs. Cobell's like, I'm out of here. And that man was threatening for sure. I thought he was the chauffeur, though, at first. Like, he's out on the sidewalk when Helena walks outside, right? And I thought he was I thought he was the driver, and he was going to let her in the car and then drive her home. He could just be like a hired security bodyguard type person for Helena, right? But he did behave in a threatening manner, I think. I don't know if Mrs. Cobell felt they were going to trick her into going to that office, and then they were going to, like, I don't know, kidnap her. And
maybe they're just going to disappear.
If she's severed, like, if she's even severed, like, or they were going to, like, we don't know that she's severed or not severed, right?
No, but I mean, they could just she could just think they're going to kill me if I go in there. I'll never make it back out. Like, it could be anything simple like that. I don't know. I just feel like
I didn't get that sense. I don't think that's this show. And I
don't think that's what they were going to do, but I just think that whatever it is, she knows it was something bad.
Or she could just be like, whatever, I don't need these people. She could have just been like.
Think she looked scared?
I don't know that I thought she was.
I thought, I mean, I don't know. To me, she looks like she's like, as soon as she's seen him, she's like, whatever they're planning, it isn't good.
He was there the whole time. It wasn't as soon as she saw him. He was there the entire time.
Yeah, but she wasn't. And again, I don't know. I felt like she wasn't close enough to see who he was. I thought once she started walking towards him, she could tell who it was. And then she's like, no, and turned around. Opposed to, because she was standing pretty far away from them. Like, I don't think she saw, I think she saw a man standing there, but I don't think she knew who it was.
So I think you're making a lot of assumptions, but I think that any of us interpreting and commenting on the scene have to make a lot of assumptions.
Yeah.
To get to any theory about what happened. I don't know that I think Patricia Arquette looks scared. That could also, to me, be a look of like a light bulb, like, oh, I just realized what's going on here kind of a moment, right? Or she's driven for hours, right? She drove very far away. She sleeps in the car where she turns around, she drives back. She's been driving all day. Like, she really wanted that job back. And then she gives up really quickly. Yeah. And like, what is it in that moment? Was she afraid she was going to be killed? I mean, that didn't really occur to me because I just don't think that's the show that I'm watching. And I don't think Lumen
severed. She could be.
Yeah, I don't think that's the thing that Lumen does is just kill people, right? I think they're much more subtle and insidious.
Yeah, that's why I said they disappear to the.
But were they
on the testing floor? Who knows?
I mean, the use of the word reset is very
ominous.
Ominous. I just don't. I just feel a little bit like Mrs. Cobell's in a position to understand if that's a threat, like. Mrs. Cobell's in a position to understand that threat, then why would she even ever take one step towards that building in the first place? I don't know. But it's possible. I could just be like under reading it also, right? I could be reading it wrong. Yeah. I'm making an assumption also when I say that. I mean, we look at this face and that could mean a lot of things too.
Yeah. I honestly have no clue. That's how I read the scene, but I don't know. Mm-hmm. But the point is she leaves. God, I'm getting really hot.
I'm really hot also.
I'm like sitting in my office with the door closed and I keep being like, I want to turn the air conditioner on, but if I do that, I'm going to get yelled at. I don't think you need to turn her on with this cold out. So Mark is, or no, that's Ragabi. Sorry. Um, so she comes in and she's like, you can't do this. And we sort of said that already. You're going to burn your retinas. It won't work. He can't send you a message back. And he's like, Mark's like, that's his problem. Well, no, that's your problem if you're trying to send him the message.
Yeah.
But he starts yelling at him when he does not listen. And this is when she says, there's an easier way. If you want to know about your wife, which she does admit, she says, when I last saw her, she was alive, which isn't really a confirmation because how do we know when she last saw her? Maybe she saw her before they got in the wreck or whatever, right? But she says she implies she's alive, and she says, if you reintegrate, you'll find it, you can find her, and that I can. So something like I can stitch together a version of you that loves her and a version of you that could, or something like that. And then he's like, what about Petey? And I think she says he didn't listen.
She says I've gotten better since then. Like
before she said something about he didn't listen.
Now she's gotten better at it since Petey, and she can stitch together like two versions. Yeah. I mean, how does the revelation affect Mark's decision making? It is the decision. Like, she doesn't complete her sentence, and he says, "I'm in. I'll do it." Like, he doesn't want to hear. I mean, there's this other comment. Justin had a similar comment about what are the potential dangers of reintegration that she offers. Like, Mark doesn't care. Mark agrees to go through with it, despite knowing Petey, because he just wants to. If there's a chance Gemma's the guy has not moved on 1 inch from her death, right? If there's a chance she's alive, right? Don't you think, Jamie?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. But I have to question, why did Ragabi not think of this before? Because she's clearly known that his wife's alive. At least I get that impression. So when she was trying to talk him into it before, why didn't she just say, hey, your wife's alive? And maybe he would have listened back then and we wouldn't have went through all this.
Maybe Mark had to be ready. Maybe Mark S had to be ready. Like, Mark Scout was ready, but Mark S wasn't ready yet. If she knows Gemma's alive and saw her, then Ragabi may know more about what's going on down on that floor than that.
I definitely assume she does, but I don't know. If you listen to the wording she says, though, we talk, oh, I didn't even see that. I don't know when that came up, but thank you, Doc. I see he put that up. I apologize. I didn't even see that. Thank you. I see the sticker. I'm not sure if it just came up or not. I have the chat down really far and I can't even click on it. I don't know where it is. Where'd it go? I'm trying to click on it. Anyway, I apologize. Oh, there it is. It's at the bottom. That's where it is. It's at the very bottom. Well, thank you, Doc. Appreciate it. Sorry, I didn't mean to take the comment off, though. Okay, you just put it. I seen it at the top. I thought maybe I missed it. Yeah.
Stop.
Sorry. Go ahead. Your turn. But yeah.
Or this comment about why does he agree? What are the dangers? And her revelation. Yeah. So maybe I mean, if she knows Gemma's alive and she's seen Gemma, does that mean that Ragabi is severed and works downstairs? Or works somehow at Lumen and gets to go? Did she see Gemma? Did she see Miss Casey at Lumen, or did she see Gemma out in the world? Does Gemma unsever and go home at night?
I don't know. But
where did Ragabi see her? And is Gemma in the resistance kind of thing that Ragabi is in?
I don't know, because she, like I said, they say things so strange sometimes on this show. It's hard to tell, because if you listen to her wording, she doesn't say she's alive. She says the last time I saw her. And that's what I'm saying. Isn't it possible that she means before he thought she was dead? I mean, she could be lying. I'm not saying that I think she is. I'm just saying it's an odd way to say it. It's kind of like when Dylan asked Milchek, well, I get to see my Audie's family. And he's like, well, if you take it at face value, and he didn't outright say yes. And yeah, like I said, I think she's telling the truth. It's just, it sticks out to me as an odd way to say it.
It's also possible Ragabi didn't see her in person. Maybe Ragabi has video access to what's going on down there or something, right? Instead of talk to her, she said, I saw her.
Yeah.
So if we're going to parse the language, which is important often in this show,
Yeah.
Right. You're right. What does it say about the true nature of Severance and Lumen's control over their employees? I don't know. There's so many questions about where she saw Gemma and when and which version of Gemma. Was it Gemma or Casey that she saw? I mean, I think it raises more questions about Dr. Ragabi than it does about Gemma.
Because, we've said before, like I told you before my theory, and I don't know that I necessarily still have this theory, but I said before, I kind of wondered if it's possible, like maybe only her severed half remains. Maybe she's in a coma or something in her real life, and there's an innie version of Gemma and not an outie version, whatever.
Yeah.
That's still alive in a way, even if it's not.
Yeah.
Like, for all we know, maybe they took her consciousness and put it. I mean, we've talked about that too. Maybe they transferred her consciousness. I don't know. But yeah, it's not super clear.
Oh, what is my
Aaron disappeared again.
Yeah, I need to stand up and stretch my legs. And so I'm just going to be off camera for a minute while I walk around.
I probably should do that too.
Because we've been here for a long time and my legs are killing me and I have a 10K race in the morning.
Why does mine go to that icon?
Because whoever was here before us on the last show, sometimes we get their icons.
I know. It irritates me though. There we go. I should stretch too. I try to tell myself to remember every couple hours to get up and I never do.
I don't want to get a DVT because of Severance. No, I'm kidding, but I have to. So yeah, I think to me it raises a lot of. I mean, that's a really good question, Justin. But to me, the questions right now for me were about Ragabi and like, holy crap, like, I mean, it does suggest. I don't know. It suggests that. Like, could Gemma be reintegrated? Could Ragabi be reintegrated? I don't know. Like, it was not working that well with PD. It's a new and improved procedure. I don't really know. I mean, the dangers are dying, like PD, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think Mark cares. Mark is so Mark Scout, Outie Mark, his entire life is built around his grief for Gemma, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I don't sympathize or see how that could happen, but there's no question. It's almost like an unfair question of Ragabi to ask him. Like, she knows the answer before there's no way this guy's saying no, right?
Right.
And in that sense, is Ragabi using him? Like, is Ragabi using him because she knows this grieving man can't say no? Like, he's not capable of saying no.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. That's why I'm saying I don't know why she didn't say it before, but you're right. She could have been not ready, I guess, before.
Yeah. So sorry, I was responding to your other chat there, Jamie.
Okay, just tell me when you're ready.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't really know what to say about that. This is getting near the end of the episode, right?
Yeah, we're kind of close. I was gonna in a minute see if anybody wanted to add their.
Well, we have a bunch of like general comments, as you can see in the chat, that we're going to come back to after we get to. So you want to click through a little bit, and then we'll.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, all that's left is this like reintegration scene, right?
Yeah. And I think that's probably there should be probably a lot to talk about with that. Yeah. Well, let's find one of the ones you still have starred. Let's see.
Well, let's so we've got a good one about the flashing. So can you just like advance this for a sec in the next couple slides?
Is it moving? This. Okay, sorry. I thought you meant the chat.
I mean, this is all them talking. This is all we've just been talking about, right?
Yeah, and this is them getting ready for the reintegration here.
And now we get in there. And she's going to like recombine. We go through these like pseudoscientific things that she's going to do. She gets him hooked up. She's got that chair that you have at the eye doctor's office where you put your chin in the thing. Mm-hmm. And she's going to start. This is where she starts asking him like, what's your earliest memory? What's something you're ashamed of? What's right? Mm-hmm. And I guess the idea is as the innie begins to integrate, Mark can't answer the questions because he's like, the innie self is forward at that moment, maybe, right? That's how I took it.
Yeah. I mean, she says about the different brain waves and that they'll like, I think the point is like, they're both on a sort of on a different wavelength. And like, as they reintegrate, it'll become one brain wave. So I assume they'll become one person if it works. I mean, that's kind of the point eventually is to get them into being one unit, however you want to say it.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to reintegrate it. Because she talks about the 5 brainwave frequencies. And also, I have this marked down here. I had written this down when I was watching this the first time, that there are 5 brainwave frequencies. There are 5 bins on that computer program.
Aren't there 4 bins? There are 4 bins,
no,
right?
There's 4 oh shit, I always forget the name of them. There's 4 tempers and 5 bins. They're separating tempers into bins. And the thing is, if it has something to do with like programming a brain or something, it just makes me think, like, is it about like separating those brain waves or something? I don't know. It's just there was 5, so it made me think that. But no, there is 5 bins. She puts salt on this thing, and this is what I had mentioned. There's the brainwaves. Had mentioned earlier somewhere here that she pours salt on it. I finally realized that I think it's salt, but that's what it is. She's putting it on, and I think it's supposed to be the brain's making this vibration. I don't know, because it looks kind of like an ultrasound, but like it's like oscillating, and it makes like these different shapes. And
well, I was struck immediately that that's what the picture of Gemma kind of looked like a little bit to me.
And I was going to say, I actually went, and I have it open here somewhere. I don't know if, I don't think I can get it to go side by side, but it actually, if you look at it, it doesn't. Like it did, but then when I looked at it closer together, it doesn't.
All right.
Let me see if I can, maybe I can present both at once. Let's see. No, I can't. I'd have to stop this one to present that one. So let me stop this and present this one. And this one is called the Miss Cobell one. Hold on. If you look at this, there's like 4.
That looks nothing like it. That's a total picture.
And see 5 bins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Those are the 4 circles that are similar to what we just saw on that. See on the bottom left of his screen, there's those 4 circles.
Right. But what I'm saying is, when you look at it, like they don't actually look the same. Like the other thing has 4 circles, but they're like not.
You don't think it looks the same?
Let me bring it back up. Remember what it looks like. I don't know how else to do it and show you just one at a time. That's why I'm trying to do them both, do it fast. But
go back to it.
If you look at it, it really doesn't look like that. Like it's 4 circles, but it doesn't look like that.
It really doesn't. But the previous one did more, right?
No, did it? I don't.
Oh, no, maybe not.
No, I didn't think.
You're right. It doesn't look anything like it.
No, but a lot of people said that, and I immediately thought that too until I compared them.
Okay.
But I think that's supposed to be the salt, like oscillating on the. You know how, like, if you ever seen, I don't know what show I've seen it on, MythBusters or something maybe, where they take and like they put something on a speaker and like it vibrates it. Yeah. That's what that reminds me of, and what I think that is.
All right.
But anyway, she says that the brainwaves will combine. She starts asking him these questions, and yeah, you're right. She, I think it's supposed to be that as he gets like as they merge, I guess is the best way to say, is his brainwaves merge, that they'll like overlap and he'll be able to see both of them, I guess is the point. But she starts asking him these questions, and it gets to the point that he doesn't know the answer to where he was born. And there's this thing about where does he feel shame? What does he feel shame for? And he says about accidentally killing his dog. But he doesn't know where he was born. And this is when he starts flipping between Innie and Outie laying on the table when he first heard the 5 questions from Petey.
That's his earliest memory.
That's when she says, what's your earliest memory? Now, the interesting thing, and there's the speaker, I don't know that this is relevant and means anything. There you can see Outie mark compared to Innie mark. Yeah. I love how they did that. The one thing I kind of want, oh, look, the bottom of his shoes, that looks like a lumen drop. And it's blue. No, I kind of, though, think it's interesting that she's asking, like she says she's going to ask him 5 questions. And when this first happened, like Petey's asking him 5 questions.
She doesn't say I'm going to ask you 5 questions.
Did she not say 5? I thought she said 5.
I'm going to ask you some questions, but
maybe she did. I'd have to go back and count them. But yeah. I thought she said 5. She definitely said 5 different brain waves or whatever. 2 waves, 5 different, 1 frequency, 2 waves per off oscilloscope. Anyway, it makes me, the questions makes me wonder, like, is that how they, like, I think she said she made this or was involved in making the chip or something. Didn't she say before?
I don't know about that. Maybe.
I can't remember. That could be wrong. But I feel like the questions that she's asking him are like sort of the same thing as the questions that Petey asks him, because the questions from Petey is to see if he's been severed. Like the questions from her is to see if he's reintegrating back together. Like it's sort of the opposite.
Those questions included name a U.S. state. They're a little bit different.
Well, it also included what's your mother's eye color. So they both did.
Yeah.
So, where were you born? They both asked where were you born too.
At any rate, these questions are about. I mean, I think that's a question they might ask you in a lie detector, like where were you born, right? Like some of these are kind of fairly standard questions that you might be asked in any kind of. I've never had my brain tested for anything, but I feel like some of these are pretty standard questions. Name something for which you feel shame. That's a little.
Yeah, that's a little not quite the same. But the thing about what city were you, or not what city, where were you born, and your mother's eye color, like they're the same questions.
Well, I love when he says, "I don't know," and she goes, "Really?" Like maybe he just like.
Yeah, I think the eye color. He just couldn't remember what color her eyes were.
Yeah.
I don't think that was relevant. But yeah, when she says where were you born, he can't remember. It's because he's starting to go back into his innie self. I don't know if she thinks like if the point is to be able to flip back and forth, or I always took it. I've heard people say, and I don't know, but I've heard people when they're talking about it, their theories being that like he will be able to be his innie or his outie. I don't take it that way. I mean, reintegration to me means becoming one. It doesn't mean either or.
I agree. I don't think it's like a switch that he toggles and switches personalities or switches like awareness, wakes one up, puts one to sleep. I think it's to create a whole person that retains for basically the outie will have the innie's memories kind of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with you. But who knows, right?
Yeah. You want to take a question? Yeah. Pick a question. I'm going to get up a second while you pick a question, and I'll be right back.
So while we're on this topic, another Justin question. So I got to try to parse this. How does Mark's time of flashing between his now self and his start on the cut space? I think that means this flashing that we see here, where he's flashing between outie and innie during the reintegration step, foreshadow likely effects. And what might it show about the real side of his split? So I'm not sure what we mean by the real side of his split. I'm not really sure what Justin had in mind here. But, I mean, I think maybe it does really foreshadow the possibility of a breakdown. Or it kind of maybe explains what the way Petey was deteriorating. The way Petey was deteriorating. And having difficulty like remembering stuff. He was having some cognitive difficulty, if I recall correctly. And so I think I think likely effects are like of losing of deintegrating. If this is reintegration, like the possibility that there would be some type of deintegration thing, if I can call it that, where it wouldn't stick and he might start flashing and he could be downstairs on the severed floor and lose his innie. Like all of a sudden Mark's like only the outie self is present and Mark doesn't know what's going on, right? Like that's a thing that maybe could happen. Or alternatively, he's hanging out with Devin and like suddenly he's the innie again, which would be preferable because at least Devin has met the innie and kind of gets it. Right?
Yeah.
So did you hear any part of that?
I heard part of it. I'm rereading it. The flash between his now.
I think we have a typo in there. That's part of.
Yeah, I know it's a typo.
It's hard to understand.
It likely affects and might show about the real side of his split. I don't know. Sorry, I didn't hear a lot of what you said.
Oh, I said that, it kind of, if it foreshadows likely effects, one would be that the integration doesn't stick and he would disintegrate. That's the word. I said deteriorate, or that he would, and like he could be downstairs doing his thing on the 7th floor and suddenly loses control and like the innie part disappears. And now Mark Scout is down there confused, right? Or
Yeah,
alternatively, he's outside doing his life at night and suddenly he can't remember being Mark Scout, and the innie is like,
well, that's sort of what happened to Petey when he was talking.
Yeah, that's what happened to Petey. I mean, what might it show about the real side of his split? I'm not sure what that means. If that means like which is the true Mark, like, you know, there's a lot of speculation. I've heard you say it several times that like the innie is your true self, and you know I don't agree with you, but that's okay. We'll find out eventually. But you know, I mean, I think
it's almost like how they talk nature versus nurture. Like, I feel like maybe your innie self is who you are if you're not affected by any outside forces. Like, not necessarily your true self, but like living in a vacuum, like what you would become type of thing.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
I think there's like some symbolism or representation of this thing Mark is doing where he's trying to compartmentalize this bad, painful thing and like pretend it didn't happen, or give himself 8 hours a day where he doesn't have to think it happened. And like all the things that happen to you are part of your true self, and you have to accept that. Like Mark willfully split himself, and he's going to have to accept it in order to be a healthy and a whole and healthy person, right?
Yeah.
There's like, I feel like there's a lot of that going on. That reintegration could make Mark outie Mark.
Is that almost like the whole idea of it, though? Like, you say that, but if you think about it metaphorically, like, to reintegrate, like if he can't accept himself, like that is what makes you a whole person, you know, like dealing with things.
I mean,
like, he will never be whole if he doesn't, I don't want to say move on. Like, you don't necessarily, not necessarily everybody moves on, but I mean, he has to deal with it, or he's never going to be a complete person, whether he's severed or not.
He has to learn to live with it, right? Like, when a person that you love, you never stop missing them.
Yes, but you have to learn to deal with it.
I feel like his grief is still very much in like one of the very earlier stages, and he chose to not accept, but Severance is like not accepting it. Of course, now it turns out she's not dead, so maybe, like, you know, he says, I saw her burned body. Obviously a burned body is easily like,
we know from other TV shows, usually that means it wasn't her, you know?
Well, yeah, it's not recognizable, maybe, right? Yeah. But I feel like he needs, like, there's a part of this that's like, yeah, he's not, like, the reason he chose Severance, he said to somebody, and I guess he says, like, oh, I did this because I lost my wife, I was so upset, blah, blah. It's helping me. He says, you know, it's helping me. It's not helping him, right?
Yeah, he hasn't dealt with it. You're never going to get over it unless you learn how to deal with it. That's the truth of life.
I'm not articulating well maybe what I think what's going on here in this scene of the two Marks, and like what I think about his decision to sever, and why he did it. I mean, and it's, you know, not everyone did it for the same reason. Dylan maybe perhaps has done it for economic reasons.
Yeah.
Really for the job. Irving has done it. I'm not really sure why. Irving maybe did it because he already was anti-severance, and he did it to get inside and be a spy, maybe, or something. And we don't really know why any of the other people who are like, but for Mark, who's the main character,
it's an escape. I mean, the point of Mark is it's an escape. He thinks that he can live without the grief, but being severed doesn't take away the grief. I mean, it makes him not remember it, but the thing that I think is kind of interesting and ironic is that he's making himself forget the grief, right? Basically. And
for 8 hours.
For 8 hours. At the heart of it. Yeah. But he's forgetting the grief, and he forgets the time that he forgets the grief. Like, the whole time that he doesn't remember the grief, it's like it doesn't exist because that's his innie.
Right. So he doesn't get I know what you mean. It's like he doesn't come home and say, oh, that was a great 8 hours when I didn't feel the grief, because it doesn't exist to him.
So, right. So it's like he's not really, it's not him living without it. It's his innie living without it. So therefore he's actually hurting himself because he's not living a full life. Like it's not. It's. I don't
like,
know. It's just kind of a little bit of irony there.
Like when you lose someone you love and you're very sad, and then like when you have that first day that you weren't sad all day, or the first day I didn't think of my mother, or the first day you didn't think of your grandmother until later in the day, and like you have like Mark doesn't even get those times because he like
doesn't remember the part that when he doesn't remember his wife, which is what I'm saying is kind of ironic.
He doesn't get to experience the not grieving.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
He's still grieving every waking moment.
Exactly. That's why I said he doesn't remember the part where he doesn't remember. So like, what good is it? It's actually, I think, having the opposite effect. Yeah. I know a lot more in the chat, but because I haven't put it up yet, let me put in the StreamYard link in case anybody wants to add their comment. Just if we haven't been talking to you and don't know you, let us know you're going to call so we know you're legit. But there's that. I put it through. So get back to it. And please, while you're here, make sure you like and subscribe. I never remember to say that until like quickly 2 hours or whatever. Go ahead.
Michael, I'm curious how Gemma passed because when he was at the diner with his sister, he compared it to Rickon burning alive. And he did say about her burnt body, it was a car accident, right?
Yeah, I think it was a car accident. So I assume like there was an explosion or something in the car. I don't know. That's my assumption.
I think is what it was.
Yeah. See, though, some people I know theorized when he made that tree that like she hit a tree or something. And then somebody was saying, she must have hit a tree though, because he visited where she hit the tree in the first season or something. Like he
went to the tree.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. Her engine could have blown up or something like that. I'm not sure how she was burnt. We really don't know.
Yeah.
But it also begs the question of why is there a car in ice on the opening credits? Because I really thought I was thinking that was supposed to be from the car wreck, and clearly it wasn't. So I don't know. All the weird stuff.
Yeah. All right, we have a lot of course, there's still like 6 more Justin comments, but maybe we can scroll down and take some of these other comments and jump around from our remaining comments we want to talk about, Jamie, whatever you want to pull up.
What about this? But RG says, I think higher ups are switched from Audi to INI to permanent INI. The higher ups, so they're saying the people in the top of the company. That's interesting.
Like, so I don't know if that means Mrs. Cobell or the highest. Now, but like Helly is not permanent INI. She was Audi INI the whole right, but she was there for a certain like Helly was on a mission. Helena came in to become Helly. Like, I mean, she definitely got unsevered at the end of the night. But maybe they get switched later. Like, I'm not sure what RG's getting at, but that idea that Keir was like, oh, someday you'll be at my own, what do you call it? Revolution, my own recycle, he said someday, like maybe
something like that. Yeah, I don't know. See, I kind of see the opposite of that. I've said before, I wonder that this is a form of, if we can sever your brain and take out the parts that we don't want, that we can control you like an army, like that eventually they're trying to sever the general public to control them, to make them think what they want. So would the higher ups be that way? I don't know. I do think it's possible. Sometimes I think it's possible that like, I start to think, could Milchek be severed? But like we said before, with the things that happened, it doesn't necessarily make sense. So unless they're like partially severed, I don't know. I don't know.
Like I had considered Cobell and Milchek to be permanent INIs, and that they come downstairs in their Audis and they, but maybe they're permanent INIs that go back upstairs. Or if you're permanent, does it even matter? If it's permanent INI or it's permanent Audi, then isn't it an Audi? Like, isn't it like if you go in and out like Milchek and Cobell do, whichever side is switched, you are a whole person. If you get to experience all of it, then you're not in any or an Audi. It's kind of like being integrated, right? Like if they leave
they still wouldn't have their memories. But I see now what you're saying. So they're saying like maybe they sever off part of them, and then that's their new version, I guess.
I mean, Cobell had all the memories. When she's Mrs. Solvig at the party, and Mark calls her Cobell, and she knows it. She's not an Audi.
I definitely think she's not severed, and I definitely at this point think Milchek's not severed.
Yeah.
But could some of them be severed or partially severed? I don't know.
Unless RG's saying permanent INI, means you never get to leave the severed floor. Like, is that what RG means? Maybe like if you get a permanent innie, is that like a Gemma situation where maybe in this case he never gets to leave the building, right?
Yeah, but she's not higher up though. I wouldn't think so. I don't know. Have to clarify there. And this that Denise said, I'm guessing, is in response to what I was saying earlier when I said about the illusion of control. The best way to keep someone enslaved is to convince them they're free. And that's what I was saying earlier. Like, I feel that some of what they're doing, like bringing the people back Mark wants to get him to work, like giving Dylan, letting him see his family. I think that everything is very calculated, but I think it's to make them feel like they're listening to them, make them feel like they're getting what they want, but they're really not. They're still doing it in a way that works for Lumen. Like, it's not like they're just saying you can see your family all the time. You know what I mean? Like, okay, he got 18 minutes with her.
Right.
That's not we're letting you see your family. We gave you this tiny little nugget of hope of it. Like, it makes them think it's good, but it's not enough. It's like a carrot dangling.
And if you stay in line, you will get more. Right? Like, you get another visit maybe down the road if you continue to behave yourself. But yeah, I mean, so that's like they're convincing Dylan maybe that he's got something, but it's actually just enslaving him deeper.
That makes sense.
I don't know who said that. I feel like I want to Google that. But that is a thing that I've heard before, and it really is an astute observation about this show, I think. And where Dylan is the choices Dylan has made and where that might take him.
Yeah.
Also, like, this comment also speaks to like the way Milchick is going around saying, "Oh, you guys, like, we're not going to listen to you, and you like, there's no cameras, there's no that you have a hall pass to go out in the hallway and walk around, and like this new kind of gentler Lumen, like making them think the innies think they're free, but they're actually not, right? Like,
yeah, like they're just
they have freedom and they don't act up. Are they more greatly enslaved?
Yeah, I've said from the beginning though, I think that if they treat them better, that they'll listen more. So I think it's like the opposite approach of what they had before. Like, before, they made them go in the break room and repeat over and over again that they didn't need to do that or whatever, and it was kind of torture for them in a way. And it's kind of like the opposite approach.
Yeah,
like it's like that's why I said it's like the carrot instead of the stick, basically, which is before they were getting the stick. Okay, did you see this one by Michael? I don't know if you.
Which one?
Check these about the Egan colony. Starting to think there is an Egan colony underground, and OND is making products for them to use so they can be undetected by society. That's an interesting theory I have not heard.
I think Michael might have watched that other show we watched this week.
Yeah, let's not talk about that for people we don't want to spoil them on.
Yeah.
Or did you get that idea from another show? That's a good question. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We know they're exporting something. That's kind of interesting though. I don't know. I just keep thinking of like the wax statues and how, like, why do they have that guy's house down there still open, like when there's nobody there, and they just have the waffle parties in it. Like, there's so many bizarre things that make no sense.
Yeah. I mean, that's an interesting theory. We should like revisit that in coming weeks if we get more evidence that like goes to that. I'm sure Mike will be watching for that. Yeah. I mean, there are so many things that Severance could be useful for.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, Severance is almost useful for, like, if you have to go on a space flight for like 8 years, and instead of going into cryo sleep, you like make your Severance self like work on the spaceship for 8 years, and then you get to wake up and just be on Mars or whatever. Mars doesn't take 8 years, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I think they're working to rebuild Kira's mind.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of thought that Mark was like, we talked about this, like Mark working to like reprogram his own grief. Like it's Cold Harbor, is Mark working on his own psyche? Like the picture of Gemma when he was working on Cold Harbor, like is he repairing his own psyche?
As opposed to something to do with Gemma.
Yeah. But Gemma's part of his damaged psyche, right? But are they all working to rebuild Kier? I mean, that does track better with like the overall ominous tone from all Egans that we've ever seen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if Mark was working to like repair his own,
yeah, that's not an ominous thing, but it's
that's a little more altruistic than I think the Lumen Corporation is.
Yeah. You working to repair Kier's mind so they can stick him in a body, that seems more on their level.
Yes.
All right. How about Fletcher says, could the board be some kind of AI clone of Kier's mind?
Yes. I don't believe the board is an actual room full of people. The board is like maybe one person or nobody, or I like the idea of being an AI clone of Kier's mind.
Yeah, or it could be like a collective consciousness of all the different Egans, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it could be that, like, I think James Egan is the name of Helena's father. That he is the collective result of every previous CEO being like rolled up into his mind, right?
Mm-hmm. I lost the so let's see. Hey, Michael says maybe it's his actual brain. I guess that's the same thing as his consciousness, really, but kind of.
Yeah, maybe they're not repairing his consciousness. Maybe they're repairing his actual brain somehow.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Let's see. What if? Okay, Michael also said, what if that was the actual tree in the wellness room?
The tree that Gemma hit.
Yeah. Was there a tree? The only tree I'm remembering from the wellness room is the little one he sculpted. I don't remember.
Oh, yeah, that he sculpted the tree because he's remembering what Mark Scout saw, the tree that she hit. Audi Mark saw that tree in real life. Innie Mark sculpted it, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying before. That then again, they're behind a little bit. Yeah, that's what I said before. People have that theory, but I thought maybe he said actual tree. I thought maybe there was like an actual like tree in the corner or something. I'm not remembering.
Or maybe they grew a little sprout from it.
Yeah, but yes, I do remember him modeling that, and I remember people having this this theory. So I don't know. Let's see what else. I know there's a bunch of stuff.
Here's a good comment from Michael. Do we think some of them having red hair could have a connection to the Egans? Although we only ever see the Egan ancestors with gray hair, and Helena's hair doesn't seem naturally red. That's why I pointed out the beard guy, the guy with the red beard, right? Like, does redheadedness run in the Egan family? And could they be? I mean, Helena could be a natural redhead who has enhanced it a little bit, right? I'm a natural brown, and I change my brown a little bit when I go.
Well, mine's blonde, so naturally. Well, now it's probably gray, but I mean, it was blonde before it got gray in it.
I make mine a little more chocolatey and a little more red. I don't know. So when I saw this comment, and then I saw that picture of the guy with the red beard, I was like, so I don't know if they would make an Egan dress in a goat suit and hang out in a goat room, but you never know, right?
Hey, if it's a Zinni, you might not care. And what about this? I love what Fletcher's, sometimes he says and stuff. Gwendolyn is a goat in a human body. Just kind of act a little bizarre there. Michael asked, we never did exactly find this out, did we? What's a husbandry tank?
No, we never did. No.
I'm gonna Google what it is while you're talking. Husbandry. I don't know. The only thing I can think of when they say to that is like bee husbandry, and I don't know what.
I mean, husbandry is like, like it's, it really refers to like care. Animal husbandry is like care.
Because a tank is used for the care and maintenance of animals.
Oh, thank you.
So I guess I'm not sure why she would be in that, but
and why they're using it for wellness visits, maybe.
yeah, I don't know. Unless it's just the room they have, I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm just scanning.
Um,
Okay, that was where that one came from.
Yeah.
Um,
Michael has a bunch of comments also. So Michael feels the only part of this episode that felt like Helly was when she was showing the flyer to the circle of mammalians. Unless Helen's just trying to go along with it to get closer to Mark. I mean, that did feel very Helly-ish, right? When she's like showing them the flyer and she's like, no, you have to look at this. And I mean, that did feel Helly-ish.
It did feel Helly. But it also could be if she's trying to be who she thinks Helly would be. I don't know.
I mean, I just don't really think that Helena would have any ability to understand how Helly would react. And I think when you're surrounded by creepy people who maybe are trying to hurt you, I feel like it's particularly hard to put on the mask of someone else in that situation.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I'm on the Helly. I'm still on team it's Helly.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was on Team Helena. Now I'm not sure where I am. I still think it's possible that she copied her. We don't know. I mean, I kind of even feel like, do they really know Helly that well? Like, those are the only 4 people they know, but that doesn't mean they know them that well.
And Helly's the newest member of the team. She really wasn't around that long.
Yeah, right. So that's kind of my point. Like, maybe they just don't know her well enough to know that. I saw a comment over here and it's not popping up here. Weird. Oh, he must. Yeah, he's in. Why is that not? I don't know. It's showing up on YouTube. Oh, wait, here it is. Finally. I was going to say they weren't showing up here on StreamYard. That was what I was. It says we're creating a Kier army that explains all the Kier babies in the opening.
Oh, yeah.
Could they be creating an army?
Yeah.
That's a good question here. Yeah, I don't know. That's what I said. I think it could be about mind control. I really do. Golden Child says,
well, yeah, they're not coming through.
No, it was coming through YouTube only. It seemed like they purposely didn't show Helena's belly, but okay, we had talked about this earlier. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't even notice they didn't see her belly button. That's like one of those things where I didn't notice it until everybody's like, they didn't show her belly button. So I don't have an answer to that. I didn't notice it. I know, like I said earlier, I know multiple people did. So
I noticed it right away.
I didn't really think about it. I was thinking about just the fact they wanted to see the pouches. I guess I took it at face value.
I mean, they don't show it, and then they say see no pouches. So we talked about that. Like, I thought they were looking for an indication of an umbilical cord, but it turns out they're looking for pouches.
Yeah, I thought at first maybe they were looking for belly buttons, but then I didn't I don't know. I didn't pay attention to that it didn't show one, I guess, which is a stupid comment, but it's true.
She wears that high-waisted skirt all the time.
Yeah, so is it just they didn't show it, or is there a point? I don't know. I really don't have an answer to that. But it could also just be they want us to think it's something that it's not.
Yeah.
And Cassie says, I wonder if she studied all the video and the audio from the tapes. And see, that's where I was getting at. Like, I think when Helena watched those videos of them kissing and everything else, I really think she was just watching it from all different angles, watching the way she acted to try to copy her. I'm not sure if I still feel like that. I did when I watched it, the other episode. Now I'm kind of like moving a little bit over to the other side because it did feel more Helly this way. So I don't know.
Well, and as I said earlier, like maybe she did, but I feel like to impersonate Helly, she would have to watch all those tapes over and over again, really study, I just don't know that enough time has gone by. Like we talked last week about how much time has elapsed. And while Milchick says it was 5 months, we feel it's more like a couple days maybe have gone by, right? And like, how much could she really prepare to do an excellent impersonation of Helly that way? To me, I don't know that she had enough that level of preparation. But again, like, what do I know? And I'm watching a show that's about people getting severed. So why is this the hill I want to die on?
I don't know. I mean, like I said, they don't know her as well as I feel like we're thinking they know her because she hasn't been there that long.
Yeah.
And that's why I said, like, when she was helping Irving and like, are you okay? Like, I wonder, would Helly have done that? I don't know, but it would kind of make sense that Helena could do that because she's trying to ingratiate herself. because she's trying to make them think she cares, type of thing. You know what I mean? Like, is she overdoing it? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. While we're talking about her, why does she suggest an impromptu meeting when she's with Cobell? Why does she suggest an impromptu meeting with the board of directors instead of immediately reinstating Cobell? And what does this response indicate about her authority and standing within Lumen?
I don't know, because I personally feel like she thought that she would expect it, and she maybe didn't think she'd listen to her until she said that. But yeah, I do think it shows that she's not the most important person. So I guess it does show she doesn't have that authority. But I think it's also just that she thinks Cobell won't listen to her authority, not just she doesn't have it.
I think her authority and standing is limited. And I think when we saw her with her father at the end of last week, and he calls her, whatever he calls her, fetid moppet, and he's very like hard with her, and I felt like her standing is not that high, particularly since her like whole document, since her innie got the better of her at the gala. I think she's had diminished standing from what she had a couple weeks ago.
I definitely would agree with that.
I think, the impromptu meeting with the board is to intimidate Cobell and scare her. I do think the idea that you can just call the board on a moment's notice goes to the idea that there's not a board. Like, it's night, it's dark out. I know it's winter and it could be getting dark only at like 5 p.m. But the idea that she's going to just like call the board, like, have you ever worked for a company with the board of directors? Like, where I work, the board meets quarterly, and it's like hard to get them in the same room every 3 months, much less to be like, let's just call them right now. And so I think that goes to my belief that there is no board of directors. Maybe it's an AI, as we just discussed, or
she just pretended to call. I mean, you could hear Natalie's voice, but I mean, she could have, I guess, technically called a voicemail or something for all we know.
I mean, maybe Natalie is the boss, and she, right? Like, maybe there is no.
I've said that before, or maybe Natalie is what we were talking about, like a permanent innie. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Natalie was a permanent innie, because she kind of acts like it. Like, she's just their face of it.
There's no such thing as a permanent innie. No, we saw her leave the floor. We saw her in Rickon's house. She's not a permanent innie.
I guess what I'm saying as a permanent innie, and I think maybe what they mean now that I'm talking about it and thinking about it, what I'm saying by that is that they've severed off part of her, and that that part is like severed off all the time, whether she's in the severed floor or she's outside. Like, that part of her is missing. You're right. It's not technically an innie, but I wonder sometimes if there's like a partial severing. And I've said that before. Like, can they just, like, we know that they took away that woman's childbirth or whatever. Like, I don't see why they couldn't, like, and this goes back again to, I said, is it possible that they could be doing it for like mind control to make an army or something? Like, if they take away the part of her that would fight them and would question them and would want to have a regular life, and they take that part away.
Okay, that's very different from what we see with Severance.
And I know, and I said I'm not explaining.
It would be an unprecedented kind of thing. It is not what Severance is right now, as we understand it.
No, but that's what I'm meaning when I say, like, is it possible she's a permanent innie? Like I said, it's not exactly an innie. It's just severing off part of her. Like, because you think about like how they're so robotic. That's why sometimes I've thought that even in Milchek. Like, could there be a part of him? Like, do they maybe sever off their emotions? Like, could it just be a way for them to, like, not be emotional? They take that part of them away. You're right. That's not severing. That's not innie versus outie. But I'm saying I kind of just, I don't know. I want to be severed when I have to go to the post office. You hate the post office that bad?
We want post office employees to be severed while they're there, so they don't go postal in their real life.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I was going to say, Grow and Thrive says, I don't think Helena would crawl on the floor if I goat poo. That's why she thinks it's Helly. I don't know. She did hesitate, though. I will say she did hesitate. But I think anybody would hesitate going through poop, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. She didn't have any kind of freak out. She didn't object. She just... Now, I mean, that is a case where I think it's Helly, although that's a case where Helena could easily be like, okay, Helly would do this, but I think I'm with you, Grow and Thrive. I think it's Helly. I'm not. I'm just not convinced yet. I don't see enough evidence of it being Helena.
I am on the fence after this episode. I've said that.
We have barely talked about Irving in this episode. How does Irving's decision to show his sketches of the testing floor hallway to Dylan impact their relationship? What does Dylan's reluctance to join him suggest about his current mindset and loyalties? I mean, we have talked about Dylan being greatly swayed by the opportunity to meet his family and his wife, right? Like this, they I mean, got to give Lumen credit. They saw the chink in Dylan's armor. They know how to get to him. They've turned that accident where Milchick had to awaken Dylan and the kid came in and this whole thing that was like they've turned that lemon into lemonade for sure.
Yeah.
And they found a way to control Dylan. And it's kind of brilliant, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think that Dylan was, in a way, like Mark and Helly, I guess, have done the most, but Dylan's clearly an important part of it. And without having him to help them, it can screw up Mark trying to rebel, like they all have an effect on that.
And as far as Irving's decision, I mean, it's a big moment for Irving, right? Like he's a little closed off about sharing parts of himself. And that also is like from his other life. Like it's a big reveal. And like Dylan did not accept that in the way that Irving would have wanted. I also, Jamie, while I disagreed with you earlier about Dylan being turned into like a spy, this is the kind of thing that Lumen wouldn't maybe get from a camera that Dylan could spill and really hurt Irving.
Yeah. I agree with the one thing you said earlier. I'm a little disappointed in Dylan that he is not just falling for, just that he's willing to turn his back on them a little bit, because he put himself on the line when he held the OTC open. He's even kind of like, I got to see my son, now it's your turn. I felt like, sort of.
Yeah.
And now he's kind of like not willing to help. So it's a little sad. And it's great he gets to see his wife or whatever, his wife. But I hope that, I hope that he doesn't continue like that. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's going to want to see his kids next. And I just don't see a scenario where a mother thinks it's a good idea to bring your very small children down there and then your father doesn't recognize you. Like that can
that would be
up for what? Like, I just don't see any scenario where if those kids come down there, then there's something bigger going on, because Gretchen would have to be a disciple of Keir to agree to harm her children in that way. Right.
Yeah. But I think right now he's satisfied seeing Gretchen, probably.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I guess we can just let's hold. David's got a deep comment here. Michael, Natalie feels like a prisoner in a weird way, even though she was at the gala with Helena. Yeah, she does have the way that smile is always pasted onto her face in a way that seems like she's afraid sometimes to not project that positivity, right? Like she's got that sort of hostage video look to her sometimes, right?
Yeah. I think we talked about last week about how, Helly has a lot more freedom, and that maybe she is jealous of that part of Helly, or that part of herself, I guess is the best way to say it. I'm not sure. I saw this comment before, because I don't think this person's commented before, and we didn't put it up, about one of the lost sheep, but I don't know if there was a reference to the number that they brought that up, or if that was just because we were talking about goats stuff. I'm not sure what
1 through 7. Yeah. I'm gonna Google it real quick.
I'm not sure what that was in reference to. Probably when we were talking about goats.
Oh, the goats. I think it was about the goats. There was a point where I was like, wait, is that a goat or a sheep? For a second, I was like, I thought like one of them looked like a sheep. They were all goats. It's Luke 15, not Luke 16, right? Luke 15. Yeah. God, Jamie, remember we used to be looking in the Bible all the time when we watched Lost, and I'd be like, let me get my Bible. I still have my Bible from high school. Let me get it out. Luke 15, 1 through 7. it's when the tax collectors and the sinners come to hang out with Jesus, and he says, oh, it's the parable about suppose you had 100 sheep and you lose one of them, like when the shepherd leave the 99 sheep alone and go find the one lost sheep.
So that was about Lauren. Yeah,
and then
when you go look for your sheep,
that he found the lost sheep, right? And the parable, it goes on to say that like God is happier to have one sin, like to have 99 good people come to heaven. God is like happy to have one sinner come to heaven, right? The one lost sheep. But that's an interesting connection there. And I really was like, is that a sheep? Do I see a sheep? But
no, that makes sense. Yeah, I see now. I got a question. Why goats is the other thing, because actually to me it would make sort of more sense if it was sheep. So why goats? I mean, what do we know about goats? The only thing I can think of is like a goat-headed demon. That's like the only thing I can think about when it comes to a goat.
I don't know. I wonder if goats are easier to deal with. Sheep are supposed to be kind of dumb. I don't know if goats
are.
Yeah,
might just be literally the ones who take care of the animals are like, let's use a goat.
Like literally, they were like, what kind of animals can we have in here? And goats were the most resilient and easiest instead of sheep.
And the weirdest thing that makes you go, what?
or whatever. Like sheep are bigger. Goats you could probably pick up if you had to and move. Like I don't know. Like it's a good question. I don't know if that came up on the podcast, the Stiller podcast or not.
It says in Asian cultures, goats were associated with fertility, strength, and virility. Prosperity. I'm looking at the different symbolism here. It also represents from ancient times, goats were associated with lust and lasciviousness. I don't know that I've heard that before. And then it talks about, in many cultures, goats were sacrificed as part of religious rituals or offerings to the gods. In Christianity, goats symbolizes sacrifice, demonic forces, wicked men, oppressors, and Satan. And then intelligence, craftiness. So yeah, that's what I said before. Like to me, the only thing it makes me think of like demonic is what I think of when I see it, especially the way they had the horns for that guy that was dressed in black. It made me think that. So
I had lunch in a Lebanese restaurant today and I had lamb, and we actually had a long talk with my friends about how in America a lot of butcher shops sell goat and label it as lamb. And it's not like a lamb, it's leg of goat. Goat's cheaper. Goat is actually the most consumed meat, I think, in the world. I like goat. Americans don't really have a taste for it so much. Goat's pretty good. I've had a lot of like goat stew, and I travel a lot, and I've eaten.
I know. I've never had lamb or goat, so at least I don't think I've ever had lamb.
It's a little gamey. I can see maybe knowing you, it's maybe not to your taste.
Yeah.
But goat is like a very, like if you're raising goats, like goat is like, are they exporting the goats? Goat is a highly consumed food around the world.
I hope not. They're cute little baby goats. I don't want to know they're eating them.
They're cute little baby goats. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not down with that.
Let's move through.
Okay, Alice. Wait, here's one. Let's go to Alice's comment a second. Couldn't it be Helly one day and Helena the next? I mean, she could gather intel and then take a break. That's interesting because then she could catch up by watching video again and finding out what happened. Makes me think of like, do you watch Big Brother?
No.
Okay, I do have a reason for mentioning this. They've had sometimes other years where they've tricked people where they've brought twins in and they've had like one twin one day, one twin the other day. And like they take a couple minutes when they switch in the diary room and they tell everybody what happened. They tell the other person what happened within that day. Aww. And to see if people figure it out. And then like usually at the end, they reveal it and they let both of them play as two people. But anyway, that's what that made me think of when she said that. That's a possibility. Yeah.
That's great. That's the first time I've heard that idea. I think it's a really good idea. Like be Helly one day, Helly next.
Then everybody's right?
And then take a break. Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, presumably, she might have other things to do, right?
Well,
with her Egan self. I mean,
yeah, she's doing other things. She's still not down there though.
But it's clear that when she first went in, she based on what we saw at the gala, she didn't intend to stay. Like Helena sent Helly down there and was like, "You have to stay. You can't leave." But she was making this like documentary about how great it is to be severed, and she didn't intend to she was going to retire Helly at some point and go on with her life. She wasn't going to spend every day for the rest of her life going down there, right?
Right.
Helly was always supposed to be like a short timer, I think. But I like this idea that like when we can't, now the thing is what we saw in this episode was one day, and we're examining to see which one she was, but over the course of the season, yeah, I like that. I like it, Alice. I like it.
Yeah, that's what I said. Maybe like the last episode she was Helena, and this episode she's Helly, and that's why I said maybe we're both right.
Yeah.
Golden Child says Lumen may praise the deity Baphomet. Now I saw this somewhere, I believe, and I could be wrong. He probably can answer me before I can Google it, but I think that's goat god or something. Figure in occult and Western esoteric traditions, it's often depicted as goat-headed human body figure with wings. Oh, it's generally considered to symbolize the devil. Okay, like, yeah, you've seen pictures of it. Like, this is like when they show a goat-headed demon devil. Yeah, I mean, I've seen pictures of it before.
So this is probably a good time to go to David's like very deep comment about the Egyptian gods and the Kir cycle. If we think about all these like descendants of Kir and all the CEOs, I think is where David's going with the Kir cycle, is the Egyptian cycle of Horus, Ra, and Seth, which is a sun cycle, which is emulated by the life cycle and the quest for individuation and rebirth after ego death. So that's kind of like, I mean, I like it, right? The idea of individuation is a thing here we see on the show, and rebirth, and
well, we've said before that maybe they're, transferring consciousness and that kind of thing, which is a form of that's not physically rebirth, but it's still a form of rebirth.
Yeah.
Dawn, birth, spring, childhood, noon, Ra, summer, season. We've also talked about different seasons too. We talked last week about Persephone, and and if you guys want to get that whole conversation, look at our live, the live tab that tells about that. How Persephone was taken down to, you said she taken down hell by, I know you knew more than I did, I forget, and that she was only allowed up every so often, and the rest of it she had to stay in the underworld. So it's kind of like there to dual realities of going up and down,
and her mother, when her mother, the goddess of the harvest, I think when she's grieving, when Persephone's in hell, it's winter. When she comes to visit above, it's spring.
Yeah, I would like to know if the winter is a thing on the show, or it's just they filmed in winter because it just happened to be winter, because there's a lot of snow.
I mean, I like that, and that Mark calls his sister Persephone last week. I like that whole Persephone myth kind of idea, also because it's heavily centered around grief, right? It's centered around the grief of her mother. I mean, Orpheus goes down there to find her, right? But like this idea of the seasons is all centered around the grief of her mother from losing her daughter to Hades. And so it triggers me because this show is so much grief
too. But I was going to say, not just with like the partially having time of, on the surface or whatever you want to call it. That also could represent Gemma and Mark too, like Mark's grief over Gemma.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know what is I'm laughing at Golden Child. It says, have I had a gyros?
It's lamb. It's usually
made with goat, but
made with lamb. You said you never had lamb. A real gyro is made with lamb.
That's what I said. Okay, well, here on Google it says it can be made with beef, goat, lamb, goat, or chicken. But no, I never had a gyro.
What? Oh my god!
What is it? It looks like a wrap. I mean,
it is. It's in a pita, but it's you've seen it. It's on a spit and it turns, and guys they slice it with like a big knife and make your sandwich.
I've never had a gyro. I eat very mild stuff. My stomach can't handle stuff that's spicy, and I have a very limited.
Next time I see you, I'll take you for a nice chicken gyro. It has a really nice creamy sauce on it. It's not spicy. It's very tasty. We can get it with no onions. All right, we have a few more things we want to move through here, right? I mean, I think so. We talked a lot about, there's a comment about the exports hall, but I feel like we covered that pretty thoroughly, don't you? Although I do think there's an important part of Justin's comment about the export hall. The last part, how does this new information affect Irving's ongoing search for the truth? I think it's going to light a fire.
Yeah. Yeah. I still want to know though, like if I guess I still question, is it for sure the same place? Like we're assuming that it's the same place because the she said about the testing floor. We don't really know that what his painting is the testing floor. And I don't
Yeah.
see that they're
It's that
putting
elevator.
necessarily two black holes.
His painting is that elevator, right?
Yeah.
And now Felicia's comment indicates that elevator, which we thought went to the testing floor, actually goes to the exports hall, or that elevator could stop on multiple floors. And Felicia only has ever been to the export floor, and other people have been to other floors, maybe, right?
Yeah, that's what I said. Or is it just that exports hall is another name for it? I don't, that's what I question. Is it the same?
Yeah.
Because it could just be like they have different names for it, you know? Like,
I mean,
send them there to test.
Yeah.
You know, they export them.
The thing about Irving is Audi Irving is searching for the truth. Any Irving is searching for Bert, the truth about Bert, right?
That's
like
fair. Yeah.
he's really trying to learn more about Bert and where Bert, he's unaware of what Audi, well, he knows what he saw on the outside, right? That Bert is with someone else. But he's really, I mean, he's not, he knows what he saw, and he knows that his Audi is searching for some kind of truth.
And then his Audi was maybe investigating him or something because he had his name. He was investigating part of Lumen.
Yeah. Although he had a long list of Lumen employees, and Bert was one of them. So, I mean, I think it's going to make Irving a little more. Irving is he's timid, right? Like I feel like Irving is afraid a little bit to search, but he's getting braver all the time, and meeting Bert helped him become kind of braver. He was afraid to go to O&D because that's where he used to see Bert, but like Irving is getting ballsier all the time, I think, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maybe what was this referring to, Michael? Maybe the kid coming in was never an accident. Oh, maybe means seeing
when Dylan saw his kid. Yes. So Michael maybe posted this when we were talking about Lumen's control, like seeing the kid has given Lumen a way to control Dylan. Maybe it was never an accident. Maybe they.
That's very interesting. They're like, if we're going to turn them on, let's get something else out of it.
Well, again, we don't know if they don't have cameras in his house, or if they purposely, like Milchick made a little extra noise so a kid would come in. Or I like that maybe the kid coming was never an accident. It was like, how are we going to control Dylan? Let's use his family against him. I like it. I
do too. Yeah, maybe it was to plant the seed wanting to know Zeldy's family. Yeah, maybe. He also said later about maybe they're trying to export goat's milk. That's a possibility, but I don't think that goat's milk is something like, you know, the country is on low supply of, or something that they necessarily have a reason to export it.
Yeah, it's very nutritious. And when my cat was losing weight, there's a theory that like a lot of people say feed it to your pet. If your pet is skinny, like feed it to your pet, feed it to your cat. So I spent $10 on this like thing of frozen goat's milk, which was like not that big. I defrost it, I pour it out, and my cat was like, "Are you kidding me? I'm not drinking this."
We give my dog kangaroo meat, so there you go.
Yeah.
She has stomach issues.
Can we go to? I think Fletcher is trolling me. Okay, Fletcher wrote, "Taco Bell's Mark's mom. Are you trying to make me rant for the next 5 minutes?" Oh my God, Fletcher. We've talked about this a couple times.
No, we have. I know, and I know he knows that too because he was here before when we talked about it.
He's trying to make me like go berserk, and I'm not. I haven't had enough wine tonight. Sorry, Fletcher. I'm drinking non-alcoholic beer tonight. Sorry.
Yeah, we've talked about is Miss Cobell Mark's mom, or is Miss Cobell having an unhealthy obsession with Mark, or the two discussion points we had before. Let's see. That was to do with what we were talking about before.
How about this? We've talked about this, Michael, but like they feel like they're from, not only do we see old technology, but they kind of feel like they're from a different time period altogether. So who knows? Thank you, LOL.
I more don't. Yeah, it's where they take care of animals. I don't know. Did we put that up before? I thought maybe we put it up.
We talked about that. I don't know if we put it. You talked about the husbandry tank, but I don't know. We talked about them being from a different time period. I am sort of coming around to the idea that this is set in the past. Like this is maybe set in the early 80s. So I feel like the old technology isn't the weird thing. Like I feel like it's set 40 years ago, and the smartphone and the Severance is way advanced technology. I feel like so. If you watch a show like For All Mankind, which is about an alternate version of the space race. And so it's set in like, it begins in like the 60s. It begins like the 60s. They have advanced tech. It's like in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, but they have advanced technology because it's an alternate version of how our space technology advanced, right? So I feel like this is kind of similar to For All Mankind, that maybe it's set in 81, 82, 83, but they have a couple of kinds of really advanced technology. So they're driving these old cars, but they have a smartphone, and they have a couple of and a flat screen TV and some things like that.
Is it possible that it takes place in different times and it's not all the same timeline, and we're just not thinking about it that way?
Yes, that's.
I'm trying to I'm thinking now. I'm wondering is there a way in which that works? And I'd have to really think through all the different times. But when have we seen cell phones? We've seen cell phones and flat screen TVs when Helena was at the gala.
Mark has a modern television in his house, right? Helena had a cell phone. Helena had a cell phone in her hand tonight when she calls the. She's like, "Let's call the board." Ooh,
yeah, you're right.
It was a smartphone.
And also, Devon's had a smartphone, and her phone looked pretty new. Because I think the thing is the reason why I say too multiple times is you say set in the 80s, but I keep forgetting. And then I come back to it and I tell you, there is a scene, and I don't for the life of me remember what it is. Maybe one of you do, that something that Mark had, it said 2020 on it. I remember it's distinctly of saying this, that so it couldn't take place in the past, but it makes me wonder, that's why I said, is it possible that these are different timelines and we're not realizing it, or different realities or something? Is there a way that it all makes sense? I mean, if you ignore the 2020 comment, I would say maybe what you said makes sense. Is it different types of technology that developed, or maybe because Lumen is so like I was saying, maybe that what they do is hush hush. Maybe they are, really ahead in creating technology. And so maybe that's why they have certain devices, or, something like that, or, who knows? Maybe there's a different dimension they're pulling them out. I don't know. I'm just trying to feel a way that makes sense.
And I did feel, so in this recent episode, we see a lot of Mark drives a Volvo, and we see quite a bit of his car in this episode. And it does look more like a 90s. That's not an 80s version of the Volvo, right? That's not the old Volvo. It's more to me I'm not a car expert, but it's more like a 90s or 2000s kind of car. It's not an 80s car to me.
I mean, the only thing I can think of is because I'm why do they have this technology outside of Lumen? The only thing I can think is maybe they give them company cars, and the company cars are meant to be that because of what works or doesn't work at the company or whatever, that it has to have old tech. Maybe they're we'll give you a free car, but it's older, and people take it because it's free. I don't know.
I mean, those are some old cars. I mean, I just traded in my car on Monday, and it was a 2009, and I barely could get any money for it on a trade, just a few $1,000s, right? On a trade in. And I feel like if those cars are being that's a 16-year-old car. We're looking at cars that are over 20 years old on this show, right?
Yeah.
And how are these cars running? I see older cars on the road, and the people are babying them and paying a lot of money to your mechanic to keep a car like that running, right? I just don't understand. Or are those cars not old? Car technology, for some reason on the show, car technology and car styling and car design and aesthetics has just never advanced, and people really like the look of an old car still. I just don't.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if it's just the aesthetic that they like, and it's world building, and it's not important. And I really just don't have an answer for that.
The cars are the number one thing that throws me when we talk about the technology on the show. Oh, but okay, so we're totally wrong because Michael was referring to the mammalians being from a different time period. So we went down a total other road than Michael had in mind. Could the mammalians be from a different time period? I mean, that might track with the idea that they live there. Could they have been living down there for a long time?
I know they did say on that behind the scenes clip that they have their own culture there.
That makes sense because they were freaking weird. Are they living? Are they breeding and procreating down there? Do they have families down there? Like, if they're from a different time period, I kind of like it tracking with, was it Michael's comment or somebody else's comment about an underground society? And like, so the mammalians have their own kind of society and culture, and they're from a different time. And how did they, like, are they from a different time? From like time travel, or are they like stuck in time? Kind of like, not like they're not from a different time period. Like they didn't take a time machine and come there, but are they sort of stuck in like whatever time they started working down there?
Did you watch the Doctor Who Christmas episode yet?
No, I did not.
See, I can't even reference something because you still haven't watched it.
It's okay. Go ahead.
No, I don't know that it'll necessarily.
If you don't watch a show from Christmas for like a month, it's fine. Like, I deserve to have a spoiler.
No, I was just going to say, like, the idea of, like, maybe, like, each office or something, like, could it be like a, I don't know, like a portal or something that's, like, you know, connected to a different time?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they go in the office and it's, you know, 1980s or whatever. And then in the mammalian place, it's like, you know, 92. I don't know what year, but I'm just like saying, could that be something like that? And maybe that's part of what they're researching or experimenting with, or I don't know.
Yeah.
I just, the two things are what's confusing to me. The fact that you have old technology. I mean, when it was before old technology inside of Lumen only, it made sense because it could be to stop them from having memories of things, like to keep it so they don't get messed up and get triggered. Or it could have been maybe for whatever reason, only old tech works in the building, but it's clearly outside of the building too. Yeah, but there's a way though. I kind of feel like could it be because it's easier to hack? I've said before about it being all analog stuff, but I question, like, they can still have new technology and turn off the internet. I think we said this before. And like, why would it matter if you had a digital watch? Like, it's not something you can necessarily hack.
I mean, maybe this, I mean, but you just need a blanket rule. So your security guard, who is not the highest paid technological worker in the building, doesn't have to examine every piece of tech that comes in the front door and be like, is this watch an Apple Watch? Like, you just want to, like, right? You just need a blanket rule and not ask security to vet every piece of technology that's being brought in.
Yeah.
I don't know if Alice was here. It's maybe a week or two ago, Jamie and I, you talked about, like, a lot of people who work at certain companies or in certain government offices, no tech goes in. Like, I have a friend who works at the NSA, the National Security Agency. He has to leave his cell phone in his car. You can't turn it off. You can't put it on airplane mode. Your phone cannot come into that building.
Yeah, that I can understand. But I mean, I'm sure they still have computers in the building. They just have them disconnected from the internet.
They do. He can't bring a computer in. There's a computer there that is governed and controlled by the tech geniuses there at the NSA, who are the National Spy Agency here in the U.S. But I could see. I mean, I can really look. It could also be concealed. Like, if I want to hack and like spy on your company, I could have a super spy watch that I disguise as a plain old Timex digital from 1980, right? Like, have you been to the National Spy Museum? They have a lipstick that can fire a bullet. And so I can, like, I'm getting a little vehement here. I'm sorry. I'm a little tired. But I could just understand why you wouldn't ask the dude at the front desk of the Lumen building to make these decisions on, like, what can come in and what can't come in. And maybe you would just be like, okay, no watch. No. And also, like, here's the thing. Mark is on a severed floor. Mark can't bring a watch down. Does that mean nobody in the whole building wears a watch, or do watches just not go to the severed floor?
Right? I don't know, because like I said, the older tech seems to be outside of the building too, which is what really confuses me. Because I said before, like, I could kind of understand, like, when they're doing things like recording the video for the innies, like when Helena makes video. Like I could understand her recording it on an old recorder because they're going to play it on a VCR in the office for whatever reason that we don't know. So it has to be made with old tech to be compatible. But like, why would the security cameras be on old tech that she's watching them on old equipment?
Yeah,
Unless, like I said before, I guess it's possible that, like, for whatever reason, nothing that's new tech works in that building. So the security cameras is the same thing. It's like made with video cassette or something, and it's not digital. But it makes no sense why she would record the video that was going out to people outside of Lumen, the people that were here, you know, followers or whatever. She was recording that on some old tech, and that to me makes no sense.
Yeah, that she's on this old-timey terminal, but she's in the building when she's doing that. She's not like in her living room, right? She's in the building.
Yes, that's true. But why would you? That is true, though. I never thought about that. She is in the building recording it, we think.
I mean, also, would a watch set off the coding system in the elevator that prevents messages going up since it has numbers?
I would say yes, because that's why they changed their watches.
Yeah. I mean, I think definitely yes, Michael. So I have become a little bit, I wouldn't say obsessed, but I definitely pay more attention in those scenes where Mark drives into the parking lot. I'm like looking at the cars and I'm like, do I see any new cars? I only see old cars, right? I've been looking at that. I'm not like stopping it and like freezing it and looking at it.
I took a screen capture of that one. I don't know if I have it.
They're all kind of old. They're not ancient.
Yeah.
Mark's
no,
car
but there's a lot of old cars in the park.
I need to pay more attention to, I don't know if we've seen Devin's car or like what technology is in Devin's house. Like I need to pay a little more attention to
they definitely to me look like older cars looking at the picture.
Older cars.
I mean, I don't know a lot about cars, so I'm not really the person to here, wait. Where to go? This one? Am I picked the right one? Nope, wrong one. Hold on. We want this one. Nope. I'll figure it out eventually. This one. Okay.
Yeah,
those to me all look like older style cars, and they're even in colors we really don't see as much of now. So yeah, I don't, they all seem to be old. Like, what is the point to that? It's just interesting.
I also, I think that has to some of that be digital because, you know, there are
probably.
There are a lot of companies that specialize in renting cars out to movies and shows. I can't imagine they have this many cars available.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, how much money would it cost to have that many old cars? Like, you couldn't even get them, I don't think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm guessing probably a lot of them are either digital or they repeated the same car. Or it's also possible, this is a possibility too. I know here, and I don't know if this is like just certain towns, but we have, and it seems to happen a lot, where they have like car shows, because they have it at this one restaurant down from where I live, where like they'll have a day and like all the people drive their old timey cars down there. Yeah. So it could even just be like when they do their, you know, board for like actors and extras wanted, be like extras wanted must have a car from before 1990 or something like that.
Yeah.
But to be fair, these cars, and granted, I guess you can't really tell, but they don't to me look like when you see the ones that are old that are like immaculately kept cars though either.
These are normal. These are not like show cars. These are cars.
Right, which is generally what you're going to see on something like that.
Yeah. Here's an interesting comment from Michael. Something about the way they light cars in the show makes them feel like toy cars, especially that shot of Cobell's car. Yeah. I mean, so they do look like toy cars, don't they? Which might speak to them being digital. I mean, they're not like, Matchbox didn't make these boring cars.
That's true.
But they do look kind of like toy cars, which speaks to maybe it's digital. And that's why they look like that, especially that shot of Cobell's car where we had that. Yeah, like so that long shot in the beginning of the road in the snow, like that her car did look a little, maybe that could have been a toy car that they shot. Like, was that practical? Was that digital? Was that, yeah. Or maybe they're trying to make the cars look weird, so we'll pay attention to this. Because the cars are
true. I was thinking back to, I was just thinking about what Michael said. I think we talked about this the other week when I mentioned the Lexington Files. I don't know if everybody's read that, but it sounds like at one point they could get through certain things, and like they made the
Get
elevator
down the elevator, down the elevator.
Yeah, it became more sophisticated because that person that was in the Lexington files, they had like a language that they made up with their sister or whatever it was. I don't even remember now. But I think it was like it was made out of, I can't remember if it was made out of other letters and it was just all mixed up, or symbols or what, but it was definitely like sort of languagey, but not outright languagey. That's a good description, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and it made it sound like after that happened, they you know, crack down harder on what they could take out.
Oh, like they learned a lesson and had to crack down more.
Yeah, I got that impression from it.
Yeah.
The other thing, which reminds me, the other thing we didn't talk about, and I need to finish reading it so we can talk completely about it. But I had mentioned earlier that Ricken's book, The You Are, you can download now, the first few chapters of it. I started reading it, and it's all about like who you are, basically. But I had written down from the beginning of it that it talks about 5 different types of people: the coward, the warrior, the dove, the scribe, and the vestal. And it makes me think again about like those 5 brainwaves or whatever, and 5 bins, and like
I thought those brainwaves were interesting. She goes, there's 5 brainwaves, and she named the first 5 letters of the Greek alphabet, but out of order. She said like, oh, it's like gamma, delta, alpha, beta. I'm like, oh, why would you say alpha, beta, gamma, delta? What's E?
I don't know. Is that even, I mean, maybe that's like really what your brainwaves are named. I don't even know.
They are. I think brainwaves are named after Greek letters.
Yeah, but why wouldn't you say alpha, beta? You're right. Why would you say it?
I was interested that she said them out of order, but I'm not like a neuroscientist, so I don't know.
Does it spell something maybe?
No.
It's delta, theta, alpha, beta, gamma.
What does she say?
Delta, theta, alpha, beta, gamma.
DTABG. No.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like an acronym for something, maybe. They're not an acronym. Yeah, an acronym. That is an acronym. I was thinking
there's probably like an entire subreddit of neuroscientists complaining about this scene, right?
Probably. Yeah, I think that, and let's talk a bit about that too. Like just what we think of it, not what it means. But I was going to say, like, that ending was so cool. Like, we really didn't talk about how cool that ending was. Like the fact that Mark's trying to reintegrate, like that it's happened already in the season.
Oh, that it's like episode 3 of season 2 and he's attempting to reintegrate. Yeah, that's huge, right?
I mean, I think that it was hinted at a lot, but it's just kind of surprising that they've gone down that road already. And it was a really cool ending, the way they ended it with him. We had before that picture that I switched back to the cars of him, you know, when they kept, I love how they had like him on the table and it kept swapping between the 2 marks. That was neat.
Yeah, that was cool. I mean, I think there are probably theories that was reintegration endgame of season 4, right? For Mark to be trying to reintegrate this early in season 2 at all, and in episode 3 of season 2 is kind of huge, right?
Well, I mean, I don't know. We just
makes me think
maybe it's going to end up like Petey, and it's not going to.
It makes me think it's not going to go well, right? Because we got 7 episodes to go, and Mark might have.
Yeah. So I said it makes me think of like what happened to Petey, and are we going to get a lot of that? Yeah, I don't know. But I did like the way they ended it. Now, I wish they had out, although we probably couldn't play it anyway, but I wish that they had out a preview of the next episode. So let me see if there is. Season 2, episode 4 trailer. Just curious if there is one out. Okay, they do have a trailer out. I don't know what it's of because I haven't watched it yet. Woe's Hollow. But yeah, I'd like to talk about the trailer if I knew what was in it, but it's hard for me to say, well, it was about this if I haven't seen it. Like, clearly I would know what the things represent if I seen the trailer, but I'd have to see the trailer first. And we couldn't outright play it during our stream here, or it'll get blocked by YouTube. But because I want to sort of preview the next episode. Because I really like the next episode. It's really good.
So according to Apple's official synopsis: the team traverses unfamiliar terrain. Come on, Mark and Haley explore their feelings. I'm Googling it to see if anybody like Adam Scott said it was the most challenging episode of the entire season.
Like the film?
Yeah, for me at least, it was
I can definitely see that.
It was a lot. I remember very early the idea about it, blah, 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 blah. I mean, you can Google up this this conversation in this interview that he gave, right?
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil anything, but if you've seen the, I know I can tell the trailer has one part of it in because of the pictures I'm seeing pop up from the 4th episode. And again, I'm not going to spoil it, but it's a really good episode.
According to Grace Randolph, who I'm not really sure who Grace Randolph is on the show, the end of episode 4 is one of the greatest scenes in television history. Okay,
it's a good ending. It's a good episode ending. I mean, I don't know that I'd say Huh?
You've seen episode 4?
Yes, I've seen 9 episodes or 10 episodes rather.
All right. So don't get spoiled, but
no, I don't want to tell anything. I'm just gonna say it is a really good episode.
It's a huge episode.
Yeah. Delta, Theta, Alpha, Beta, Gamma is what it is. Sorry, I see Alice is asking me what it is. It's Delta, Theta, Alpha, Beta, Gamma.
Those are the 5 brainwaves.
I guess it could be because she's saying, is it a DNA code possibly? I'm trying to think what letters are in DNA and RDNA.
AGT, yes, Delta. So RNA, there are only 4, right?
Well, no, there's 5 here, but yeah.
DNA is AGCT. So that would be alpha, gamma. There's no C. There's no C in this.
So that ain't that.
Yeah, thank you, Alice, for your.
It's a good thought. Though.
There, I had to Google it. I'm embarrassed to say.
No, I don't remember either. I'd have to think about
it. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, somebody who knows more about brain waves and how they are. They're also
outside your house, Karen.
Google tells me there are 5 main types of brain waves. And the list on the internet is Delta, Theta, Alpha, Beta, Gamma.
And even in that order.
Yeah.
Did you hear what I said, though, when you were talking? I said, Milchick's at your house. Didn't you hear the motorcycle?
Oh, did you hear what? No. Did it go by? I don't even hear the noise anymore in the street.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said, Milchick's at your house. Yes, I heard the motorcycle.
He's coming to, it's coming to sever me or unsever me or something. So before we jump, I gotta jump off soon.
Yeah, I know. We said about 12.
Get up early. I gotta be in my car. I'm trying to find my plug for I have 2 computers here, and the plugs are all tied up. Let me just plug this back in my battery. So before we go, I want to highlight this comment because Justin says, "What is the significance of Cold Harbor? How might it relate to the larger mystery of Lumen's operations and experiments?" Justin, that's the whole show. That's like the central mystery of this entire season and maybe the whole show, right? Like what? Justin, I can't answer that right now. I wish you could.
We don't know. I do like though. He gives us really good talking points, really good questions.
Yeah, Justin's great. But
I mean, I assume it has something to do with Gemma, but that's really all we can say.
I mean, we think Cold Harbor's Gemma, and we think they're on Mark to finish it because they have some ulterior motive to see if Mark will remember something or right.
Yeah.
I mean, it is possible that we're totally wrong, and the innies are working on the algorithm of Kier's mind. And I gotta say, it says Kier's mind /board, but I'm not wearing my glasses. When I first read this, I thought it said they're working on the algorithm of Kier's mind /beard.
Oh, jeez, that's funny.
Like, wait, what's with his? Why would they work on his beard?
Well, we have that goat guy with the red beard, so yeah. Maybe.
So it's possible.
Yeah, you were saying this is the mystery of the show. The other thing I was just thinking, the big mystery of the show. What the hell is the waffle party about?
Oh yeah.
My other question.
Although the dance party to me was better, but I mean,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it is possible also that like Cold Harbor, is he working on Gemma? Is he working on his own grief? Is he whatever? But I do think it's all in service to working on Kier, right? Like I think that
they're trying to resurrect here in some way, shape, or form,
yes,
whether it's
I
his
don't
mind
think
or his consciousness or something.
I don't believe, and I think a lot of people don't believe that Lumen is working on this for any altruistic purpose or for the betterment of mankind or anything like that. It is a selfish purpose, right? And yes, you're right. The waffle party really was an orgy.
It kind of was, yeah. But what is the point of it? I guess is more what I'm saying, not what is the awful point.
Even Dylan, he was weirded out. He was like looking forward to it, and then he was like, "What the hell is this?" Right? And he ran out. He was busy, but I mean, there's no way Lumen has any sort of altruistic purpose here, or is in the public interest.
I doubt it. Which is also why I don't really think it's his grief that he's working on fixing. Just because that would be more altruistic.
It's all or if it's his own grief, it's only with the Lumen has a selfish purpose for that to be worked out, right?
That's fair, yeah.
And there's the whole part we talked about the congressman's wife getting to be severed so she wouldn't have to go through the literally labor, right? Like we talked so much about enslaved labor on this.
I'm laughing when she said, it's not wrong. Dylan has had other waffle parties before.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe they were literal waffle parties. Maybe they were all like normal waffle parties. I didn't even say waffle party.
Oh, we skated past you saying that you've had the whole season.
Yeah, because sometimes when I say it, people get upset, and I don't want to spoil anything. But yes, so I've seen the whole season, and I very much love it.
If you guys didn't make the connection, Jamie runs SciFiVision.com, and
yes, please stop by.
Please stop by there, and Jamie does a lot. I do one or two interviews with actors from different shows. And so they like, as a legitimate journalist, they will send Jamie screeners to watch the season so she can conduct that interview and be informed. So that's what
in this case, because I haven't interviewed
or do interviews or do reviews. Sometimes they'll send it for an earlier, and Jamie will post a review of the season. So there's a bunch of shows that Jamie, the only screeners I get are like, are you smarter than a fifth grader?
I know you got to start. Well, that's Star Trek.
I got Star Trek. I got Star Trek recently, and they'll set like when I write for Jamie, I get sometimes, but it's really for the journalism side of this over on SciFiVision.com. So that's why she's seen it.
And that's
so
why
she doesn't have a secret illegal download site.
I don't have some dark reason I've got it. No. But yeah, sometimes I mention it because I've said I liked it, but sometimes people get upset. So it's kind of like, I don't always mention it, but yeah, it's really good. I loved it. And I do have, if you go to SciFiVision.com and go back, to whatever it was the premiere aired before that, I did put up a review of the whole season, and it's spoiler free. I very much err on the side of caution when I write my reviews. So, but yeah, that was for the season.
Yeah.
But
well, this was fantastic. I am going to jump. It stayed a little long. I mentioned I have a trail race. 10K is only 6 miles, but I got to be out there. I got to leave my house before 8:00 tomorrow morning, and it's almost 1:00 now. And I'm old and I like sleeping. So I'm ready to hop. I think
somebody else had a stream when we started, because we started getting more people again towards the end. So if you missed the beginning, please rewatch it. Make sure you check out our other videos, interviews, and lives on YouTube, and like and subscribe. And tomorrow as I've said before, and I will repeat, tomorrow, where is the hell's the link? Why do I keep losing the link? It's like
you have from tomorrow or Yellow Jackets?
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, tomorrow I believe I have so many different things. I'm getting confused with the times. I think it's at 11. I want to say it's at. I don't even have that. Yeah, it's at. I have marked 10. Yeah, 9:30 p.m. tomorrow. I said the wrong time earlier. 9:30 p.m. Eastern is our watch party. We had been doing 10, but I was going to start 9:30 just because it's too hard to get to the live stream at 11. And then at 11 p.m. is our live stream on this YouTube channel where we're going to break down the episode. We're on season 1, episode 9 of From. And I will post I started to get it and then I forgot what I was doing. I will post the Discord link here. Make sure you join so you can join our watch parties. Saturday's Severance, Sunday's From, and then Monday we are going to, I think, 8 or 7. Yeah, I was going to say it'll be in Discord when I put the schedule up. We're starting the 2nd season of our Yellow Jackets rewatch, because starting 2 weeks, we're doing these last 2 episodes of From for the rest of the season. Then we're switching on to Yellow Jackets because that's when Yellow Jackets season 3 starts. Because we can't do all of them, and we will resume From at a later date because we'll be doing those live streams.
All right, and so a lot of you guys know that our kind of flagship show is Tuesdays at 10 o'clock is Phantom Access, which is our original show that we've been doing for like 20 years.
Yeah, and that's at 10 p.m.
At 10 p.m. Tuesday. It's like a weekly roundup of what we're watching, and this week we've got the new Hulu series Paradise.
Yeah, so we're doing the first few episodes of that.
3 episodes are up. You guys should watch it. It's got like some cool sci-fi. If you enjoy this kind of sci-fi and a mystery, I think I said to Jamie, no spoilers, but the first episode, it has a twist in the first 5 minutes and a twist in the last 5 minutes, and they do such a good job concealing that ending twist. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. So you shouldn't read spoilers of it. Just go watch it. And then also the other thing is, and I know we can't really talk about it yet, other than I can, maybe say how I feel about it. The new show coming out, 9 Bodies in a Mexican Morgue, is coming out on MGM. It's with Eric McCormick. I started watching that. It's not out yet. It is also very good. And I think, it's like Paradise. It's not puzzle box, but it's a mystery. It's good.
Is there a sci-fi element?
I don't know yet for sure. I don't know because I haven't seen it all, but it's good. It's a mystery. Yeah, I think people will like it. I really enjoyed it. That's coming out. I'm not sure exactly when that's premiering. Junket's at the end of next month, but I'm not sure when it's premiering. Okay. I'm guessing probably March, but that's a guess. Do we have anything else besides Paradise? What else are we talking about Tuesday?
I think we might just have Paradise this week. We're in a quiet period of television in between like series ending and series beginning. There's a new Marvel show coming, but I think not for another week or 2, right? The new Captain America is coming. There's some new stuff we might only have, but I'll create the show tomorrow and I'll post it. I'll check it out. But I think we only have Paradise this week, but it's 3 episodes of Paradise. So it will take us an hour to talk about it.
Yeah, we don't talk about it as at length as we do this. And what else was I going to say? Oh, I was saying, though, I don't know if I made that clear because I said it so quick. We're watching season 2 of Yellow Jackets in the rewatch on Monday in Discord. But our Yellow Jackets live stream like this is going to be on Sundays in place of the From one. And we're only doing Monday because we're finishing up the show. And how did I get into my field? AA is asking. That is a long question. I started calling into a podcast, basically, and talking to some of the actors that were guest stars on the that came on the podcast as guests. And then I ended up doing podcasts with that person and with other people that were calling into that podcast. And eventually we all kind of connected from on one of the podcasts and did our own podcast and spun off. And yeah, but essentially one of the people that had one of the shows that I was on, they had a online magazine, Media Boulevard, and I started working for him and then eventually became SciFi.
But that's going back. So
that's going back 20 plus years. That's pretty far back.
I know Jamie started your interest in this with the X-Files. Like we have a sci-fi bent to all of this, and Jamie's been starting this since the X-Files was airing on television. Is when you started.
Yep,
right?
Yep. I was doing reviews back then. Except then there wasn't a thing of not being able to post spoilers because I watched it on. That was so funny that's kind of how I started. I don't even know if you know this. I probably told you a long time ago, but I would watch X-Files on the satellite feed, like when you have the big satellites, not the little, the big satellites. and they would air a feed that morning of the episode. So like I wrote like the super, my detailed reviews, how crazy detailed. I'd write like a 6-7 page recap of, I meant recap, not review, of the episode of X-Files before it aired, and I posted it and people read it, and I was like had a group flirt, so it was fun. It's been a long journey, but yeah, that was probably close to 25 years ago, I guess I started.
And like back when you started, it was more like fan sites.
Yeah, when it was with X-Files, it was totally a fan site. It wasn't until I started working at Media Boulevard that it became something more, and then I started on my own.
There wasn't like really a YouTube back then, or much of a YouTube, and not a way to like get
Yeah, we had just an audio podcast, and the interviews were always over the phone, and they now they do everything over Zoom, and that's why we get lots of video interviews and all that fun stuff that you can check out.
And then our show started. If you guys come on the Tuesday show, you guys know AJ and me. We all during Lost is when we started the current version of our streams and our shows.
Yes, we started on that podcast, but first we met on a Lost chat. That was how we all met.
20 years also. We're old. We are old. We are old dogs learning new tricks.
Yep. But it's been a long journey, but a fun journey.
All right, I got to go get my clothes out because it's going to be like 30 degrees tomorrow morning when I go on the trail. So I got to go. This has been great. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks everybody for coming. I was hoping maybe somebody would call in or Scarlett would get here, but I don't think she's back yet. So
that's okay.
I think I'm about out of things to say anyway, unless people have things to add in the chat.
Let's get ourselves rested up for episode 4, the epic, apparently incredible episode we're going to watch next week and talk about next Saturday night.
Yep. But hopefully I'll see you guys at our rewatch party tomorrow for From and at our live stream there. And that's with me, Julie, and Scarlett is tomorrow night. It's tonight now. It's not tomorrow anymore.
Right.
All right. Thanks. Good night, guys.
Bye.
Bye.